Good morning to those of you here in the paddock this weekend and to those of you watching live at home. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys as always. My name is Caleb Bieska. Alongside me, down on pit lane this weekend in the booth as well, Alexander Searle. It's been a great weekend of racing so far here for the 2025 edition of the Karts North America Spring Nationals live at America's Home for Racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The LCQ Warm Up is getting set to go green, Alex, but let's talk a little bit about yesterday. Yesterday was, I think, some great racing all around, some chaotic racing on some of the races, and if you didn't have the best of it yesterday, you're finding yourself in the LCQ here this morning.
Yeah, and again, a lot of pressure now on these drivers because the LCQ is a one and done. If you can't get it done the LCQ, you're not participating obviously in the final later on today. And a couple notables that we'll get into a little bit later. We have a senior light LCQ, a junior LCQ, and a senior medium LCQ, the three biggest classes that they offer throughout the weekend. Over 70 entries in all three of those classes. No wonder why we have to have an LCQ. But Caleb, senior light up first. Who in this LCQ do you think are some of the notable drivers that we could expect to see in the main event today?
Look, first of all, you have to take a look back to the Grand Nationals 8 that we saw last year. Josie Chambers, the driver who's currently leading this field away, was one of the drivers that we saw fighting inside of the top 10 and inside of the top 5 throughout some of the heat races. So he finds himself in the LCQ. A bad qualifying effort for him. A wheel hub and a wheel came off of his, and a tire, I should say, came off of his Intrepid machine there in that qualifying session. So he now finds himself in the LCQ and trying to fight his way out of it as well to get himself into the show. 2 shots at it, I believe. I'm not sure if he's running as well, but again, it's going to be a technical weekend for Josie Chambers. It seemed like it's been that way, and then he got involved in that wreck, obviously, at the start of senior light as well. So a couple of bad luck, but Jackson Young as well, a driver who we saw just 2 weeks ago at the Texas Racing Series, fighting up at the front inside of the top 10 as well. So he's another driver to look out for here in this one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jackson, I know during the heat races, he actually had a decent qualifying. The problem was one of those in the races, both times. We talked about momentum yesterday, right? It is so tough to stop moving around the racetrack like Charlotte Speedway. Once you start going backwards, it puts a target on your back. And a lot of drivers notice, okay, they're struggling, they're getting passed. I want to pass him too. And that is what we see a lot of the times around this place because it's a racetrack that offers 2 braking zones maximum. And you have your go kart really rolling around this place and almost get away with 1. And so usually once you start going backwards, it's hard to get your foot back on it and keep going forward.
Yeah, exactly that, right? For a lot of drivers, they kind of struggle to get themselves into that mix. And really finding pushing partners as well was another one of the big stories that we talked about yesterday, Alex. Putting yourself in a good position on the racetrack with good drivers to kind of work around, and drivers who, are going to be hitting their marks lap by lap. You don't want to ruin that momentum as well as that race continues to progress. And you want to continue to make spots and make progression as quickly as possible. But also, you saw long heat races, and again, you saw a lot of kind of desperation moves early on in those races. And as the races went on, we saw a lot of drivers kind of find themselves on the outside looking into within a shot of even a race win. And that goes for a lot of the drivers, even inside of the top 10, who did a lot of fighting early on. But in the LCQ, I think it's everything but that, right? You do not want to fight only 4 drivers, right? Make it into the show. Only 50 starters, I believe, whenever we get into main event racing action. You have your LCQ drivers right now for your light, for your senior light, junior as well coming up next, and your senior mediums as well with an LCQ here this morning.
Yeah, well, first of all, you touched on the heat races. I was actually very surprised to see the level of aggression we saw. I think heat 1 was more aggressive than heat number 2 because a lot of drivers realized, okay, maybe overstepped a little bit in the first heat and backed it up here in the second heat race. In the LCQ, like you mentioned, you got to keep it on the racetrack, right? Keep the shot. The last thing you want to do is make you facing the wrong way. Most likely that means the day is done for you. But in the LCQ, usually, like I said, 4 drivers make it through. Usually the drivers that are in that front group, kind of an unspoken agreement, right? Let's not battle. We're all in the show and stay that way. Sometimes you'll see some one driver maybe go rogue and try to make up some spots in the LCQ because obviously if you win the LCQ, well, you get to start again. You get to start ahead of the 3 guys you beat in the LCQ. But ultimately, the goal is to just make the main, and then from there you can go and battle in the main events. The main events are going to be crazy because those heat races were wild. There's one race.
Yeah, just one race for some real hardware to start your national season off on the right foot as well. This is the first big main national here at Karts North America out of the 3. We start here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway with the Spring Nationals. We move over to Batavia, Ohio at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati for the Summer Nationals. And it all ends for the 9th edition of the Grand National Championship as well in Newcastle, Indiana, and Spiceland, Indiana, I should say, out there in Newcastle. This morning, David Baker already with a good lap on the second light. Up 42nd, 43.85 to start off the morning. He's just that little bit quicker than Jackson Young and Josie Chambers, and those three drivers actually working quite well together here this morning. I want to talk about the racetrack here, though, Alex. It's kind of progressed a whole lot. You know, the temperature has been up and down. We started off really cold on Friday. It got warm yesterday with the sun kind of peeking out. And then today, you know, I'm no meteorologist. I don't know what type of clouds we have. It's a little bit of cloud coverage, but again, you still see the sky in the air. I think the sun's going to be out as well when we get to the
I hope so. You guys probably got a chance to see my red gloves on here this morning. I'm cold. I'm a Florida boy. Caleb doesn't need them as much as I do, but I'm a little cold. I got 3 jackets on. But the one thing I will say compared to yesterday, it's actually not as cold as this sunny. So thankful for that. For sure, all the drivers probably with their hands in the I know it's really, really cold out there. But cloud cover is like it was on Friday. So this racetrack, from what I've been kind of keeping tabs on with drivers, it's been a bit of a bell curve, right? I mentioned it yesterday on the broadcast. The morning show, right, during the morning, okay, the track was a little bit slick. It got really grippy during qualifying and the start of the first heat race, and the track got slick again. Now, for the drivers that were stuck to the racetrack, well, they loved it. For the drivers that were free on the good end, didn't like it as much because then they were almost too free. Staying ahead of the racetrack was the name of the game. Tires won't be as much of a factor, obviously, because talking to a couple of drivers like Colin Warren, I mean, these Vega tires, they have a 1 to 2 lap peak period. They drop off about a 10th and then just stay that way for a lot of their life cycle. So again, most of these drivers, unless you're in the LCQ, are going to have the same amount of laps on their tires. It won't really be a factor in the main event. It's all going to be about track position today.
Yeah, and you heard Colin talk about, again, how he struggled kind of getting those tires up to temperature. We saw it throughout some of the heat races as well with how much carnage there was in the opening laps. And then as well, a couple of drivers just a little bit behind the curve, right? You had a couple, you know, your top 4 drivers in a couple of the races in senior medium. One of the ones, Gavin Isaacs, who I believe was in 5th, and again, just couldn't keep up with the guys who were in 3rd and in 4th to get himself into the fight. And then obviously that all the fighting happened towards the end of that race. So it kind of got a little chaotic there. But, you know, for those drivers, it's just being ahead of it, especially predicting what the track is going to do whenever we get into main event racing later on today. The sun's probably going to be out, so it's probably going to be a good representation of what we saw at around noon yesterday to back to the setup you kind of want to go to, the tire pressures. But another thing to note, these main events are 6 laps longer than what the heat races were. We had 12 lap heat races. We now have 18 laps, 18 lap main events as well coming our way here later on.
Yeah, the biggest difference, obviously, when you have a longer event, no matter if it's a heat race or a main event or a free final or whatever it may be, tire pressure is different, right? The way you set up the go-kart usually will remain kind of the same. It's just when you want your tires to come in. Naturally, you want it to come in later on in the race, especially for drivers like Colin Warren, who can roll lower tire pressures naturally and still make it work. Speaking with Overbeck on the grid yesterday, we were watching the Masters race, and I asked him, what is this track race like? It provides a lot of action, but what's it like inside the cockpit? He said, listen, it's a little bit weird in a good way, but he said once you start fighting, we talked about it on the broadcast yesterday, it creates a really big gap. And oftentimes you'll see these situations where you'll have groups of 3, groups of 4 just split up on the racetrack. That Masters heat number 2 yesterday, we were watching it. He said, yeah, watch these guys go through. It's a 3, a second gap, a 3, a 1 second gap, a 3. And that was kind of the name of the game yesterday, is just groups of, you know, 2 to 3 drivers. Obviously, we'll start out with, okay, group of 5, group of 6, group of 7. Once you start making passes in that mid-group, it immediately separates the pack, and it makes it tough. And then if the front group is, you know, intelligent enough to realize that, okay, that's when you see breakaways happen. You saw it with Owen Lloyd and Colin Aiken in the heavy races yesterday in both heat races. You saw Aiken, let's say in the interview last night, they were cruising, right? Once they get out to a lead, it's pretty tough to go out there and catch those guys, and that's the name of the game no matter what class you're in. Get out to a lead or at least ahead of the group and work together. There's no need to make any moves happen until later on in the race. Naturally, if you're starting further back in the race, you're going to want to start making moves. But if you're starting towards the front of the field, the biggest thing is just keeping your head on you.
Yeah, and I really think predicting what we're going to see in the main events as well later on today, the opening laps are going to be crucial. You're going to see a lot of guys try to get themselves into that main mix, inside of the top 5. And like you were saying, Alex, it's very hard if you find yourself maybe even in 10, just outside the top 10. If you're not really pushing it, you know, in the group, in the fight, in the tone towards the middle stages of the race, then the fact of the matter is that most likely you may not be there in those top 5 and top 4 decide not to fight until that white flag flies, which is a lot we saw yesterday. But again, hardware racing today, and for the first of the national races on the schedule this year here at Karts North America, you know, these guys are going to want to start off the year on the right foot. But looking on the racetrack now, this is Olsen, junior, the E12, in third. We have about 19 drivers in this field, and again, only 4 of them will make it through the main event. Yeah,
Unfortunately, 15 drivers go home today in the 206 junior class. A couple names here in this class, Caleb. You know, Pierce and Bolseth pretty quick. Go down. You have the likes of Gavalier is pretty quick. Sivich and Forrest pretty quick. Richard Brabitsky there went quickest just now, I believe, in the warm-up session. Looking out on the racetrack, drivers are trying to find who's fast, who's not fast, right? These may be drivers that you haven't seen all weekend, or maybe they are drivers that you've worked with throughout the weekend. It's figuring out who's going to be you can work with in that LCQ. I heard you talking about it last night, Caleb, with Simon Sykes on the booth. He's talking about finding a buddy you can trust, you can work with. To me, the 2 best guys that do it that I've seen in recent years, Dylan Amundsen and Colin Warren. No matter what team they are a part of, they were teammates last year, not teammates this year, but Colin Warren on the grid said, listen, it's like having a teammate. Those 2 guys trust each other. They actually share setups with each other, because if there's one thing that you want in Tucson racing is having a guy that you kind of fall back on and know that you can trust to race around.
And I mean, those 2 drivers spent a lot of time on the racetrack together, working together, and they've been 2 of the biggest household names here at Karts North America for quite some time. They've been at the front throughout all the senior categories as well. So they're definitely, 2 of the ones to watch, and they work together. And the biggest thing also, with situations like that is finding somebody that you can trust. And all the younger drivers get out. A driver like Colin Warren and Dylan Amundsen can't waste time, because he knows there's 5 other drivers behind him that are going to want to go on him at a certain point in the race. So just having that trust with a driver like Colin Warren, knowing that he's not going to make a mistake, and knowing that he's going to be lap by lap, is, I think, crucial here to get yourself out in front like they were yesterday in the senior light races. I know Amundsen struggled in senior medium. We were kind of questioning him starting in this LCQ. I think he just missed it, but by a little bit. A couple of others, Emily DeMaster, and a lot of drivers were involved in that wreck yesterday, Alex, which we saw. It was really one of the biggest things that I think we saw from yesterday. Our group that really got into it as well. So we'll see how they come today and who actually is going to find themselves in the LCQ. We were expecting that a lot of superstars were going to be in the LCQ here in senior medium. Looking back on the grid, I know a couple of drivers, one driver who had issues in heavy and as well in medium. Hunter Bolton is in this one of our own as well. So we'll see. I mean, again, this field has been super competitive all weekend long, the senior medium class at the end of the day, and it shows you why, right? The best from senior light, the best from senior heavy meet up at 360 pounds and go at it. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we had a great Grand Nationals 8, and I'm super excited for the main event here today, Alex.
Yeah, it should be a good one. And again, going back to the racetrack a little bit, because the name of the game yesterday was the progression of the racetrack. I talked about what it was like grip level wise, but I got to say something else to note, and I know you touched on it throughout the broadcast, Caleb, was the marbles that formed. And CKNA does a pretty good job of blowing the marbles out when they can, when there's time and downtime on the racetrack to go out there and do it. But it builds character on the racetrack, right? And as the day went on, we started to see more single file racing, because people realized if they went too low on the racetrack, if you defended, you got dirt in your tires. It made it tough to keep grip, obviously, and the crossover became more and more evident. The final 4 corners of this racetrack, you have a double left and then a double right to finish off the race. Oftentimes, you'll see drivers go low and then get crossed over. Overbeck did a really good job yesterday in the first senior medium event, where he went low and then brought the cart back to the middle of the racetrack and parked it. That's pretty much the way to do it. That's textbook. Oftentimes, you'll see drivers go too low, not park it on the racetrack, and they'll lose 2 spots. The crossover becomes more and more of an option as the day goes on, because the marble buildup becomes more and more. We saw, the dark patches on the racetrack naturally, right? The racing line, it builds throughout the weekend, but these Vega tires are really putting rubber down, and I couldn't help but notice that the line started to get tighter and tighter, right? Starting getting under the rubber throughout the day yesterday, and right now, this sun is starting to poke out. You guys can probably see it on the camera. It's getting bright here, Caleb. It's getting
Golden
a little bit hotter.
It's golden hour for us down here.
I can take my gloves off.
There you go. Sun's definitely starting to poke out here, but again, you were talking about kind of the racetrack. You can see it on our track cameras as well. You see the rubber line just get a little bit wider and wider as well. Drivers to be more aggressive throughout some of the corners here. So that's another one of the big things to note. And you're going to see a lot of more side-by-side action throughout some of the corners, right? You saw Cade Yeager into this first section with Colin Warren, turns 1, 2, and 3 there as well. They were very, very close to each other, fighting side-by-side that entire time. So it was very strong that entire way through there, Alex.
Yeah, well, that second of the was chaotic, to say the least. The first one was a little bit more tame. Probably what the drivers and teams would have wanted. That second heat race, we saw a lot of action. We saw like Caleb Guevara have a nose fairing, almost block his vision. He did a good job smacking it down and not having to pull into the pits with a black and orange flag. So a good comeback drive for him. Caleb Guevara, a driver to look out for. Obviously, a home track for him. Used to go to school just a couple miles down the road from here when he was younger, and a track that he loves. He said in the interview, you know, it's always good to get in the racetrack, but for Guevara, running double duty, running senior light, running senior medium, we'll see him later on today, but something that he noted, he's running one go-kart, right? And when you put weight on and take weight off, naturally you're going to have more grip, right? Because you're more stuck to the racetrack, you're heavier, but they were struggling to stay ahead of the curve, and that's something that I wonder as the day goes on, if I get a chance to talk to a couple of drivers, who in the senior medium class is running double duty with light and medium, and if they are struggling to stay ahead of the racetrack compared to their light go-kart, because naturally, when you put weight on, you're probably going to go up a tooth, maybe 2 teeth, probably just 1, but you might make a slight setup change. Your grip's going to be higher, so it's something to always note. I know a lot of drivers this weekend are sharing go-karts. You look at the Perkins, James and Jed. I know Jed's heavy go-kart is James's master's go-kart. So not only are you doing a little bit of setup changes, but it's more work on the body, right? You're wrenching, you're changing weights, you're changing gears. It's exhausting. I don't know how some of these drivers do it. Colin Aiken, Noah Boyd, 2 notable guys that are doing triple duty this weekend. So again, shout out to the drivers out there on the racetrack. Constant work. It is a tough racetrack on the body. They're not going, you know, as quick as maybe you'd see in like an X30 or a shifter, but it's tough. This racetrack puts a lot on the body, and when you're running 3 classes, no matter how fast you're going, it's tough.
Yeah, looking here on your screen now, a big group of Karts in the mix. Matt Wyatt in there, Hunter Bolton on your screen as well, and a couple of others working their way through. A couple of the big names that we saw yesterday fighting their way inside of the top 5. Aiden Lorenko on the BJR PPK Coyote machine. He finds himself in this last chance qualifier. And again, he was a driver that was inside of the top 5, inside of the top 10 all day yesterday, and he finds himself with an outside shot.
Yeah, Aiden Lorenko was one of the drivers that fell victim to just other people's mistakes. And that's just part of the game, right? That's racing at the end of the day. It's unfortunate, but for Lorenko, I mean, I know the speed's there. He knows the speed's there. It's staying out of trouble, right? Because in the LCQ, it's one and done. You get one shot at it. If you don't make the main, you're going home, right? And so for Lorenko, he's a driver that we expect to see not only in the 206 field, when he goes to the OKN side of things, X30, he's really quick. And so for him to be in this LCQ, it goes to show you the competition in senior medium, but it goes to show you how tough it is to go out there and actually make the main on merit.
Yeah, spinner here near the back of the field at 31, going around there. Looked like one of the Coyotes, maybe that's Callahan actually on the Burrell Art machine. It was 6th there on your timing pylon. Went around Aiden Lorenko kind of on his lonesome out there on the racetrack, and this entire group of karts now working together, pushing each other along there. The 51 leading them away here. Alex Evans currently sits 11th on your timing pylon. He leads this group away.
Yeah, a couple more drivers to note here. Further down in 7th, number 7, National Wheeler driver now is involved. I know at least one incident in the senior medium race. I want to stay involved in an incident in both heat races, and that's why he's in here. He's a driver that has pace to go out there and make the main, usually at least middle and top half of the pack there for Ashton Wheeler. To see him in the LCQ, what I'm trying to note here, Caleb, is only 4 drivers make it, and there's a handful of drivers here at least that can make this main event. So there's going to be a couple of notables that might miss the main event here today.
Yeah, another one of the drivers. I mean, Matt Lyda is in this group here as well, and unfortunately for Matt, had issues in heavy. It looked like he had some pretty promising pace as well throughout Friday, and then again, I don't think qualifying went the best way for him, and again struggled, got himself in that incident in the first heat race of senior heavy. So he finds himself in senior medium LCQ as well. So hopefully he can finally get some luck to start to go his way, and as well for Hunter Bolton, who's in here in the 21 Coyote machine. Him and his dad. I mean, you talked about the second heat races that they had. Hunter had issues in the first one in heavy, and then in medium as well was caught up in a wreck. So again, just a day of bad luck for Hunter Bolton as well, and just trying to catch a break this morning, right? And it's the same thing for the car drivers. That's just the name of the game. That's racing. You have some weekends that go to the field where it goes perfect, and a couple of other times as well, which doesn't go the way that you would like. But again, this has been it for the LCQ warm-ups. We have free coverage all morning here live from the America's Open Racing at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. You can watch the LCQs that are going to be live and free to view next, and then the main event warm-ups get set to hit the racetrack, and then main event racing action that's going to be for KC Premium members only. Only $9.99 a month. It's cheaper than Netflix, cheaper than cable TV as well. Subscribe to KC Premium. Just hit the join button on your screen right under our description on our YouTube channel. But this morning already, the key this morning, especially when you go into an LCQ, it's keeping it clean, hitting your marks, just getting warmed up for what's going to be a race. And again, these races are all about just keeping it on the racetrack and finishing inside of the top four, picking and choosing your battles. And again, you do not want to be stuck in a battle way too early on in these LCQs.
Well, the LCQ, if we're talking about pressure, is comparable to the final, because for some guys it is their main event. For some guys it could be their main event if they don't make it into the main, right? So pressure's on, keep it on the racetrack. I'll be surprised to see heavy battling in the top four. Now, where the pressure becomes, imminent is when you're in fourth in a group of 7 or 8, right? You know you're the transfer spot, the target is on your back, and that's when you're going to start seeing passes. So if you ever wonder why, why are they racing for third when the top 4 make it? Well, if they're in a group of 7 or 8, like I said, that's when you're going to start to see a lot of battling. That's when things can go wrong. So keeping it on the racetrack, keeping your head about you, make the main. That's the goal.
LCQ races coming up next. For those of you watching live, just a couple of moments time, you see the grid starting to fill up with drivers. We'll head back up into the booth and get ready for some LCQ action.
Brandon, why are there all these charges
stop.
for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this branding business, okay? Branding this, branding that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
To the finish line. Who is it going to be? And it's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 at KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here. Told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Ready to elevate your racing game? Introducing Apex, your 24/7 personal karting coach. Apex is your ultimate racing companion. Get expert advice anytime, anywhere. From setup tips to mental strategies, Apex has you covered. Fine-tune your car for peak performance. Get personalized advice on adjustments like tire pressure and chassis settings. Apex helps you master the track, from overtaking strategies to wet weather driving techniques, and to resilience to perform under pressure. Apex keeps you focused, confident, and race ready. Using Apex is simple. Sign up, ask a question, and receive instant advice from top-tier coaches. With Apex, your personal karting coach, you're never alone. Get instant expert advice on everything from setup to technique. Unlock your full potential with Apex. Your journey to victory starts here. Happy racing.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR, with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today. DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the 2-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
K1 Circuit, the world's greatest outdoor karting facility, is now open. Open karting and rental session schedules are available online. Rentals will resume today after the race event at 5 p.m. Thanks to Kart Chaser for live streaming the event at K1 Circuit. Your coverage will resume shortly.
You need it? We got it. At Kart Eat Parts, we are your complete online aftermarket kart part superstore. From chains to bearings to bumpers and components, we've got it in stock and ready to ship straight to your door from our base in Ontario, Canada. Check us out online at karteparts.ca.
Paulie Massimino wins in KA. Paulie Massimino is a winner in OKN Stars.
Take your driving to the next level with one-on-one coaching from 2024 OKN Stars champion, Paulie Massimino. Kart rental options are available if you'd like to keep yours at home, and drivers in all classes are welcome, from Briggs 206 to Mini to K100 and X30. With in-depth data analysis, onboard video footage review, and lead follow on-track sessions, each private coaching session will see you end as a more complete driver than when you started. Book your coaching session now.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay,
But I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Car Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Car Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit carclass.com to get your track information.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're gonna need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rip protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Let's go race.
Come on, man.
Welcome back to the CKNA Spring Nationals. It's time to set the grid for our main events, the final 4 spots available for your junior division, your senior light class, which is on the racetrack now, and senior medium. My name's Xander Clemens, alongside me, Alexander Searle, and it's about that time for senior light to head on into the tram lines. Here we go. We've got already problems, though, to get things rolling. One driver off to the side. That's the 989, Alex Zacusalo. Let's see if we can get a start on the first attempt. We will not. No green this time by. Send them around again. And we'll hold on going green with our last chance qualifier. So you and Caleb are obviously down on the grid, able to chat with some of the drivers and also to kind of keep a tab on how things are going in warm-up. Thankfully, I'm sure you're probably enjoying a bit of the heat in here because it looks like it's still pretty cold outside again today as it was last night when we left everyone.
Yeah, well, the one thing I will say different to yesterday was the wind slowed down. Yesterday it was incredibly windy. You guys saw on the flag stands throughout the day yesterday. Today, cloud cover. The sun tried to poke out, and then it left us a little bit early this morning. But hopefully it decides to reappear. You can look at the flag poles there. There is absolutely zero wind at the moment, so at least that is in the favor of some of the camera guys and obviously the teams and mechanics and CKNA staff officials that maybe won't get us cold today, but I still got 3 jackets on. I'm a Florida boy at heart no matter what. Let's see if Burgess likes this start second time around. We're waiting for the green. It looks pretty good. We will get the green. Dylan Callahan alongside Brady Vainwright on the front row there. A couple notables further back. Josie Chambers starting in 17th in this one. A driver that finished in the top 10 at Grand Nationals last year on the Intrepid. You're going to see him play this a little bit timid to start, but then you're going to have to make up moves like that. The 56 to the inside through, up into 6th. The top 4 transfer, remember that.
Yeah, that is the cut line right there. That 4th place position is the final spot to move on up and into the show. They'll start 47th back to 50th. But outside that red cut line, well, everyone's CKNA Spring Nats will end at the end of this 14-lapper. Of course, there's penalties that could play a factor. There's tech and scales that could play a factor, but this will absolutely take you out of the running for it, as if you end up in trouble. That was the 219 going up and over the side of the 752. That was Logan Hickman up in the air on the gold cart, trying to make something happen here in that blue, white, and yellow machine. We're checking back forward towards the transfer zone. Little attempt there from the 022 of David Baker on Antoine Lacherie. The Canadian holds strong. He'll stay 4th. Last driver in right now with a 3-cart breakaway up front is Dylan Callahan. Still leads over Braggy Vainwright and Scott Clayman, who is trying to follow through and get away. Here's a look back again to 5th and 6th, and we've got one off. And the 989, Alex Zacusalo. That is at the end of the back straightaway. That is a weird spot to go that deep into the tire wall, Alex.
Yeah, he seemed frustrated. I don't know if either maybe he pulled off or he got a little bit of assistance there, but look at this. We have a fight for the front. I thought for a moment that the likes of David Baker and others were going to have some issues there, but all of a sudden, it was a 3-cart breakaway. Now we have a 7-cart train. I touched on it this morning. This is when things can get tricky. If you're the guy that has the target on your back, if you're right now Scott Clayman in that 4th place spot, you want to start making moves like this. Callahan back to the front. You want to at least put a cart between yourself and the transfer zone because you know it can get dicey. Here comes Lacherie to the inside there for 2nd. He's going to put the likes of Braggy Vainwright, who started this lap in 1st. He's down to 3rd. And look at that, the Intrepid of Josie Chambers from 17th up into the top 6 already.
Josie Chambers on the move. Let's see some of the other big movers here from the drop of the green. This is 11 up now for Josie. More passing at the front of the pack, still side by side for the race lead between Lacherie and Callahan. Dylan will hold. Antoine's going to get a run back at him. He'll go back down to the bottom. And then as well, right in front of Josie, more changes here, 3rd, 4th, and 5th as there's contact further back. This pack is about all the way to maybe 12th right now, Alex. At any point, things could go sideways as now our pole man is bouncing through the gravel. So more chaos still to go here as we're only working lap number 4 right now.
Yeah, the 24 of Alexander Vasquez, and once again, Callahan getting all sorts of out of shape up and over the curbing. He's going to drop maybe outside your top 10 at this point. You see Chambers, you see the 42 of Braggy Vane right there, kind of the universal signal of let's work together, no need to make any chaos happen. They're both in the race at the moment. The 311 hand up, I think that he has got an issue there. So the 311 there of Carmelo Cueto, he's going to be out of this one early from 11th and out of this race. Unfortunately, his weekend ends in the Senior Light LCQ. You look at this, the 42 there, Vainwright looks back. He's got the 56 of Frankenberger, who started 4th, down to 5th at the moment, and he's by his lonesome. That's the likes of Ryan Miller on the Sodi machine. He's going to lead this next quartet there of Vasquez, Schwartz, and Jackson Young, a driver that was involved in 2 separate incidents throughout the heat races yesterday. That's why he's in this Senior Light LCQ, and there he is making a move. He's going to try to do what Josie Chambers has done in this one and make his way into the LCQ, or the main event.
Still not even yet to the halfway mark of this 14-lapper, but already that drop zone is starting to see the gap get further and further up the road to Braggy Vainwright. So that's why we're kind of watching this battle outside of it. You got Jackson Young there, one of the young guns on the black and white GFC in the middle. He was high and low and looking for a way past. Let's see if he makes a move right here. Coming back towards that grid corner. He'll show the nose and get it done. That's another spot up for Jackson. He's got a little more work to do to join his fellow Texan and Josie Chambers up the road. This battle here might get a bit antsy. That's the 24 Vasquez now. He'll lose another one. But the thing about this racetrack here, Alex, it kind of ebbs and flows when it comes to the momentum of which lane to be in. I mean, look at Dylan Callahan there. He ends up picking up a spot at the end of that group because he goes to the outside of the dog leg on the front stretch, but he ends back up on the inside in turn number 1. A lot of places around this racetrack kind of play that way. I mean, even, for example, this left-hander at the end of the backstretch, you'd think coming out of this corner and going into it that you still want to be on driver's left, but we've seen plenty of drivers get themselves kind of at least a half car length to car length advantage by being on driver's right coming through the kink and bend towards the grid corner. So the back and forth switchback sections ebb and flow the momentum of either lane, and when you get big pack battles, you can it's really tough to get onto the correct train. You know, move to the left at the right moment, move to the right at the right moment, because sometimes you get boxed in and you just have nowhere to go but backwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more of a factor when we get to the main events and you have 40, 50 go-karts on the racetrack at one time, because most of the time if you're in a pack and you're on the outside and you're getting passed down the inside, it's not one go-kart, it's 2, it's 3, it's sometimes 4, 5, and 6. We spoke to Eli Warren on air yesterday, and he said, we asked him how his day was going. He said, listen, if I can just pick the right lane and not get held out to dry, it could be a much better weekend for him. And it's the same case for a lot of drivers. Like you mentioned, it's just tough. This racetrack, you can either have positive or negative momentum. And oftentimes, once you start going backwards, it's really tough to stop the bleeding around this place. And that's why you'll see when we get to the main events later on today, if there's a driver that you're watching, whether it's a fan favorite or just a buddy of yours that you're trying to keep tabs on, and you see them going backwards and keep falling backwards, oftentimes because they can't slot back in line. And once you go backwards, people don't want to work with you anymore. They want to get around you because everyone else is doing the same thing.
And, of course, all the marbles offline. You covered that very well last night, Alex. I mean, you can even see it here, some of those black dots just on the outside of the surface. That's not rocks. That's all pieces of rubber. And, again, part of it may be some gravel or rocks, though. And any of that stuff is going to be super, super slick if it gets onto your tires and will take you half a lap to a lap to kind of shake off or burn off. Here's a look once again to the first two outside looking in, Jackson Young and Ian Frankenberger. They both have been up and down when you talk about going back or forward, but sadly they're 3 seconds away from the lead, and more importantly 2.5 back from the final driver inside the show. Usually these last chance qualifiers end up in tears because the drivers at the front are afraid to do exactly what the front quartet are doing right now, and that is put their egos aside, stay lined up, And whether the driver in front of you is a half-tenth slower than you or a half-tenth faster, it doesn't matter. You're better off not sacrificing 3/10 per corner, per pass. And with David Baker, Antoine Lacherie, Josie Chambers, Braggy Vainwright, there was battling at the early stages of this LCQ. There has not been any since. They all know 47th, 48th, 49th, or 50th. It doesn't matter. You're going to be at the back 2 rows of the grid. So just make sure that you're on the grid. And kudos to him. It's a good tone to set the start of the day.
Yeah, well, for Josie Chambers, I think he's doing a perfect example of what you kind of just touched on there. He was clearly the fastest go-kart on the racetrack the first 6 to 7 laps. Once he got to third, once he got safely in, he hasn't made any moves. He probably has the pace to go out there and win this race and maybe even walk away a little bit, but there's no need. No need to start a battle. You have a 2.5 to almost 2.7 3-second lead over Jackson Young and Frankenberger. And I thought for a moment last lap that Vainwright was starting to lose the draft of Josie Chambers, which is the last thing you want to do around this place. But he's refound himself at least quick enough to hold on to the tail of the Intrepid go-kart. But Jackson Young right now, all he can do is pray that there's either a battle or a mistake from the 042 machine that he has a chance in this one, because like you mentioned right now, Jackson Young, a driver that deserves to probably be in the main event with the issues he had yesterday and the speed that he has shown, but unfortunately started so far back in this LCQ that 5th right now with 2.5 to go looks like the best he can do.
Well, and you can make that same case for Ian Frankenberger there in the number 56, but both drivers, albeit were able to match the pace of the leaders last time by, just took too long to kind of find their footing here in this LCQ. There are going to be, I think, a lot more stories similar to these two that they may be, 30th to 35th fastest overall, but that's why those heat races yesterday, you got to treat them like a championship, because it's not always the fastest 50 that are going to make up our grid for the main events in the afternoon. When you have classes like this that oversell, it may just be the most consistent 46 and the next best 4. Which in this case at least, not a ton of carnage, so we're probably getting 4 very fast karts coming out of this LCQ. But yeah, I think Jackson Young, Ian Frankenberger, if nothing goes their way, if they don't have any luck kind of swing their direction with anything off track or post-race, they still should hold their heads high coming off this LCQ. This is a good run. It's a strong show of speed. For 2, maybe 3 consecutive laps now, they have been stride for stride with David Baker and Antoine Lacherie, Josie Chambers, and Braggy Vainwright. Identical lap times. Let's see if they do it again. Yeah, I mean, within 3,000ths. And yeah, now they can battle. At this point,
smart
one
move.
spot is a smart move, yeah, because they're not going to get to 4th. There's the odds of 1 penalty are low. The odds of 2 penalties knocking 2 drivers out of the top 4 much lower. So it's still worth it to race for that 5th position, and you just never know what could happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mentioned, it's a good move for Frankenberger, because at this point, you're racing for pride and you're racing for the chance of this. We're actually racing here for the top 4 spots. Clean racing, but I'm a little bit surprised. You never really want to put yourself at risk, but again, you're racing for the lead of this LCQ, and you get to start ahead of the 3 guys behind you if you get to beat them. And for the 721 of Lacherie, he's going to get it done. Chambers to P2, Vainwright and Baker 3rd and 4th. So Baker went from the lead to actually the back of that quartet, but they're all going to be, as far as we know, safely in to the main event. You can start to see the frustration on a lot of the drivers. Just emotionally, you can tell that they know their day is done a little bit prematurely. But for the top 4, Lacherie, Chambers, Vainwright, Baker, they're into the main event. First guy out, Jackson Young.
All results provisional, folks, here for these last chance qualifiers. Ian Frankenberger, Ryan Miller, Alexander Vasquez, Max Schwartz, and Scott Clayman, your top 10. Only a handful didn't end up finishing this one. Eric Hubert obviously did down in 15th. We only lost a couple. Alex Sakusalo we saw go out. I believe he may have actually been the only driver failing to finish, so a bummer for him. He was buried pretty deep in the tire wall. Was okay, got up under his own power, and we obviously stayed green to the end. So 22 took the green for 18 of them. The road ends here for 4 more. They are moving on to the main events later this afternoon. They'll have a warm-up session to redial in after our final few LCQs roll. That's right, 2 more of these races are coming up here, folks, during this morning rotation of practices. Junior, senior, medium on the way.
Brandon, Why are there all these
right,
charges
stop.
for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this branding business, okay? Branding this, branding that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
Quick run through the grid here, folks, for the LCQ in junior, just so you can see where your favorite driver lines up. Once again, we are getting ready to roll, and the top 4 will make it from this group of 19. Here we go, ready for racing action for the second time. No, not that time by. Jason Burgess not happy with it, and he was making his case very clear at who he was not happy with there, Alex.
Yeah, well, I think it was the P2 driver of Richard Rosinski there. He was pointing to the outside row. By my guess, probably jumped the gun a little bit, didn't like the fact that he crossed the line a little bit before the leader, because the leader needs to beat him at least to the acceleration line there. So they get one more chance at it here. We've seen a couple times yesterday. We know the rule is actually a little bit, for some drivers' case, maybe a little bit of egregious, where if you go around 2 times and Burgess doesn't like the start, he has the right to not only move you back 1 row, but 2 rows to row number 3. We saw Gaffera and Malquit fall victim to that one in the first senior light heat yesterday. But here we go for the junior LCQ. You see the drivers signaling to slow down. They don't want to be the ones to get moved to the 3rd row. Burgess likes it. Green is out. Good start for the likes of Smith, for Boris, and I think that was Jarquin there going to P2.
Yeah, it was. Can we get them all through the opening lap at least? So far, so good. First chicane, good. Second chicane, good. Let's send them down the back straightaway. Get them up to full song as the Coyote leads the way just for a moment. And we are checking in right there with a 009. Aiden DeLauro is the last one in at the moment. And about a car length, maybe no, marking about 5 back to Riley Dobbelier's Nitro Kart to the good, as we got problems already. Couldn't quite make it through the first lap going around the 812. Golseth going around. That was Pearson Golseth with a spin on the first lap, and the FMS Merlin will drop from 6th all the way to the rear, Alex.
Yeah, well, the first driver's out at the moment. They're in the position that the likes of Jackson Young was in the first LCQ. Dobbelier and Richard Rosinski on the MGM there. Working really well together. These two know battling for 5th won't get you anywhere. They need to get up to the top 4, and you see the likes of Jarquin and Boris working together, signaling to each other. We're in the best 2 positions on the racetrack right now. No need to make a move for the next 12 laps, honestly, here, Xander, because like we know, unless you're 3rd and 4th, there's a lot less pressure on you. If you're the 009 here of Emilio DeLauro, you know big target on your back. Last time around, obviously the first lap here, we'll get a pretty good idea of where people stand lap time-wise here on lap number 2 in the books. Let's see what lap times show. Boris Purple, the leader, 48.8. Let's see where Dobbelier is, 49.2, a 10th off of DeLauro at the moment. So for 3rd and 4th, Jake Smith, Emilio DeLauro, those 2 drivers right now are quicker than the group behind them.
Let's go down to Caleb Viesca here as we get going with what could be another breakaway top 4 run. And one driver who was part of that in the race that just finished up but had to pass a lot of go-karts to get there was Texan Josie Chambers. Caleb?
Thank you, Xander. Josie, first of all, a good LCQ race for you, but not the best of weekend. Just summarize your weekend up to this point.
In qualifying, my tire fell off. I hit the barrier. I did it straight away. And then I got a pretty good heat race. And I went up 23 spots. It's like 17. And then in the second heat race, I got sprung on the start and LCQ.
Obviously, you're starting a little bit ways back in that senior light. main event. Just talk about what you can do from that point, and again, just wanting to make up some spots in that race. You go. If you guys have the Chambers, back to you guys.
Thank you, Caleb. Josie Chambers, solid run, and well, he picked up double-digit spots there. He could easily pick up the same in the main with the speed that Intrepid looked to have. Let's check in with Rosinski. Our off-pole kid is outside looking in right now in the early quarter of this junior LCQ, but he's not terribly far back, about 7 or 8 tenths. He needs some help, though, it looks like, because actually marking a 2.5 seconds now. The top 4 are split in pairs of 2, and poor Richard Rosinski there in 5th is just a bit too far ahead of Jordan Lapin and Clay O'Brien to find a dancing partner for himself. This is all he can bank on right now. Some passes, some movement. How about a new leader? Peter Harquin to the point.
Yeah, Harquin to the lead here on the 19 there, and anytime you make a move around this place, even if it's a clean pass like that, it always stacks the field up a little bit. So the 9/10 gap that they had to Jake Smith and DeLauro has been, I don't want to say erased, but cut in half. I saw it was about 2 kart lengths when they exited the final couple of corners there. So let's see what it looks like this time around on the racetrack as we have a couple of battles further on back. That's the 12 of Jordan Lapin there getting passed by Clay O'Brien. O'Brien went purple 2 laps ago, so the 24 machine is rolling here up to P6. You touched on it there, Richard Rosinski. It's the dilemma of being a little bit too quick almost, right? You're faster than the guys behind you. You're a little bit slower than the guys in front of you, and that leaves you by yourself in no man's land. And around this racetrack, it's tough when you have nobody to work with.
Yeah, I think honestly it's probably a death sentence. I mean, you know, there is so much that is full throttle momentum racing, and if your cart's set up well, Alex, we talked to plenty of drivers, you're brushing the brakes all of maybe 3 times a lap, if that. This last corner, maybe the run there into that grid double left, and then the run down to turn number 1. Outside of that, you're pedal to the floor with a quick blip of the gas, or maybe just breathing it for a half second. But that's, again, being very generous. And especially with the junior karts, I mean, these are going to handle better than the seniors. They're way lighter, and, of course, they're a tick slower with the throttle slide. So, I mean, you don't have anyone to push you. You might as well just be a lap down at Talladega or Daytona, because you are not going to be going anywhere near as fast as the leaders that are working together, or at least when they are. Looked like for a moment there we were going to have a change.
Yeah, I would have been surprised there if Emilio DeLauro went for a move. We're only halfway home here in this junior LCQ. Really no need to make a move. I'm sure if DeLauro's either looked back or he has a mechanic or a parent on the flag stand there, letting him know, listen, you guys have 2.5 seconds over Richard Rosinski. No need to make a move. Don't risk anything. Don't risk a penalty. Don't risk a mistake. Don't risk anything. You have a 2.7 now to the good. And last time around, I got to say, Rosinski, the first time where the group behind him was quite a ways quicker than him, put about 4 tenths on what Rosinski was able to do in 5th. And maybe it's a benefit to him. I'm sure if Clay O'Brien gets to his bumper and he's already there, he'll probably just go around him with the pace that the 24 machines had. Further back, we have a battle there. That's Lapin and Dobelier. And Dobelier actually going to pull into the pits here.
Yeah, and I imagine that's probably a meatball for her hair coming loose. You can see Riley Dobelier's ponytail had gotten a bit too long, and I mean there's just so many moving pieces behind the driver's seat here that are all exposed. That's a common policy, common practice. Heartbreaker ending. I mean the only consolation for Riley is that she was not really in a transfer spot and probably would have needed a lot of dominoes to fall to end up in one when they finally posted the official tally. She was down in the 9th position, and you can see here all of these drivers back to Rosinski. They're more than 3 seconds away from the top 4. I don't know if any of them have what it takes to get to him at this point in the race. We're past halfway. We at least are going to get to watch some good battling, though, and hopefully they'll make the most of their final few laps as we see Lapin make a nice move on Connor Morse. That was for 7th.
Yeah, for 7th there. Back to the front here. It's still Harquin and Boris. They have about a 9/10 advantage over Jake Smith and Emilio DeLauro. The fastest driver on the racetrack the last couple of laps has been the guy in 6th, the 24 of Clay O'Brien. As I say that, Jake Boris goes purple. But let's see what the 24 can do here. Lapping a couple tenths slower than the top 4. So like you mentioned, this group is going to need quite a ways to make anything happen. They're 3 seconds back now from even the transfer spot in 4th. So more than likely these last 4 laps here will be the final laps of the weekend for these drivers. Unfortunately, you never really want it to end prematurely, but we're getting some passes here. You saw Brzezinski thought O'Brien was going to work with him. O'Brien said, you know what? If I'm not going to have a chance to get 4th on the road, might as well give myself a chance to get it in post-race tech.
Let's see if he can do it. He's got himself a good ways now ahead. He doesn't have to block into the last turn. Can he pull away? Can he kind of make up a little bit more there in the number 24 Cosmic? Repping the Pro Kart Concept Shop out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Dan Schlosser supporting a ton of drivers. He's got the REM colors on it, but I believe part of that group coming down from PA, the host racetrack from the CKNA Summer Nats last year. This year, the Summer Nats shifting over to switch things up, takes us to the MCC Kartplex over in Ohio and Cincinnati. And so the Pro Kart Concept crew, they need to hopefully cheer on the fence for a Hail Mary right now, Alex. They're getting some help now from Richard Brzezinski. He's pushing, and they're disconnected up front. So maybe, just maybe, but we need a lot here over the next 3 laps.
I saw some emphatic head shaking there from Clay O'Brien. He loves the push that Richard Brzezinski's given him because he looks up front. He sees Emilio DeLauro has lost ground to Jake Smith out front. What's the gap? They were half a second quicker than DeLauro last time around. 3 laps to go at that pace. They will just miss out on DeLauro, but who knows? Crazier things have happened here, and we know 2 go-karts, 3 go-karts are always faster than 1 around this place. You can see it. O'Brien loves what's happening on the racetrack at the moment.
Again, just like I mentioned, these junior karts here with the throttle slide, they're slightly slower because they're not able to use the full throttle linkage like the seniors are. But again, they're lighter. They've got the grippy tires from Vega and the full-size karts that have plenty of ability to roll speed to the center of the corners. If they can stay glued together, which sadly Brzezinski lost some ground last time by, they need more. They did not get it that time. They picked up a lot. Last time it faded off. They needed about 7 or 8 tenths a lap to get there, Alex.
Yeah, they got 5 tenths, which on a normal occasion, you'd think, wow, I'm half second faster than the guy in front of me. Unfortunately, the laps are ticking down faster than they're ticking down the gap on DeLauro in front of him. DeLauro head up on the wheel there, trying to get as much speed as possible. Brzezinski goes to the inside of O'Brien. A little bit surprised he went for that move. You see him now giving the signal to O'Brien, work with me, which is funny because he didn't work with O'Brien, but nonetheless, these two trying to keep it clean, trying to work together. They have a lap and a half, a little bit less to go, and I thought O'Brien would go for a move there, but he's not. He's going to keep it smart here. You might as well put yourself in the best position to get it on merit. You want to finish 4th on the racetrack. You don't want to leave it up to the officials and tech because it's going to take a bit of luck to make it happen. What was the difference last time around? 7 tenths. Brzezinski found 7 tenths. Unfortunately, they're 1.3 back with a half a lap to go.
Yeah, I mean, they have made up a ton of time, and Richard Brzezinski on the MGM, whatever he learned there being behind O'Brien, I mean, he's been able to put it to good use. He'll gain a lot more this lap. I mean, still, it's just not going to be enough, even with a perfect deal. They might just come up, it looks like 1 lap short. He's going to send it just maybe. I mean, I still think we're going to be too far back for a move on the last corner, and he's going to go under fire as well. A little pressure from O'Brien. Meanwhile, up the road, Peter Harquin's going to score the win comfortably. Through goes Boris, through is Smith, and so close. Emilio DeLauro is going to survive by 3 tenths as the gap evaporates to nearly nothing at the checkers. But he stays above that red cut line, and he will stay through to the main. The day continues for the 009. Richard Brzezinski outside looking in, first one on the outside. Let's take a look through the results really quickly here just so you can see where your favorite superstar may have crossed the timing loop. And with that, we're going to send it back to pit lane. One driver that had one of the best performances across the 3 CKNA majors last year, working her way through an LCQ and getting into a main, albeit not the award that you want to be awarded from us, was Emily DeMaster. She knows what it takes to get it done here. Caleb?
Thank you, Xander. And indeed, Emily, first talk about your weekend. You, for a second, we thought you were going to find yourself in this LCQ after that incident in the second heat race, but you made your way out. Talk about your weekend up to this point.
Yeah, this is my first real weekend on my new 2024 Coyote Zenith, so it's been a real learning curve. It's definitely different than my Common Eagle from last year, so this weekend's definitely been trying to figure out the Coyote, how it works in traffic and everything. So it's been good considering. I mean, I was top 10 in my first heat race and then got caught up in that incident, kept driving, and finished 18th in the heat. So I find myself starting 25th for the feature, which is, it's workable. It's workable.
And real quick here as well, a couple of friends in this race. What are you kind of telling them before this LCQ?
I'm just telling them to stay calm, find a buddy. I mean, really, if you can find someone that you can kind of work with and you're both on the same page, you just, especially here, it's a huge drafting track. So just staying calm, kind of knowing where you are, and going from there.
There you guys have Emily DeMaster. Staying calm and finding a buddy to keep this LCQ.
She's not wrong, Caleb. That's the secret sauce here. It's being able to master the draft and get away from all the chaos that will inevitably ensue around you. Here's a look at the last chance qualifier drivers for senior medium. Not lined, I believe, in this order. This is, again, just how they were ranked on numbers, but there are a lot of them. So we want to show you this final page really quickly of the total that'll be making it up, trying to vie for a spot here in senior medium. 30 in total, back to Michael Robbins there. And again, not in that order. The order actually has the 09 of Cole Eckinger starting on the pole, and he will start alongside what looks to be the number 30 of Cooper Redditch. Then on the second row, the next two and the final two that will start the race inside the transfer zone. Last year's CKNA North Division, one of the three senior champs, Brady Atwood in the number 6 MGM, and Hunter Bolton in the number 21 Coyote. Last man in, first man out will be the 125 Gold Kart machine of Benjamin Safar. But there are a few fast drivers to keep tabs on, starting way back, and all of them are going to be going for it. 4 spots, the final 4 for the afternoon sessions. And we're out of line. Your pole man, Cole Eckinger, out of the tram lines there, coming to the green. Alex?
Yeah, he didn't seem too happy with Brady Atwood pushing him, but I don't think that would have made a difference. He was out of line there, so let's see if they decide to invert the front rows or they're going to give him one more chance. You see Eckinger there pleading his case, saying he's getting pushed. He doesn't really like it. The 30 there of Cooper Redditch is trying to let him by, and yeah, they are going to invert the rows.
Oh.
So the front row is going to go to row 3. Not the first time we've seen it all weekend, but in the LCQ, it's as bad as it gets. You go from the front row to out of the main to start the race.
Wow. So a big, big shakeup. Brady Atwood and Hunter Bolton now have the command of the field. Can they get this one going? Burgess says, yes, we've got him. Green flag in the air. Hunter Bolton trying to rip the high side. He'll keep the momentum up to the lead for the number 21 as Brady Atwood slides into second. And right behind him there, one of the many VLRs moving forward. That looks to be maybe the 7. Indeed, Ashton Wheeler up there. Side by side now. Eckinger from the pole back to outside the transfer, and I think all the way back to maybe 7th. At least 6th here behind Chase Redditch there in the number 30 as they race behind him.
Yeah, further back, you have the 51 there. I believe that was Colin Evans there and Cam Burris going after. That's for 7th and 8th. You want to slot in line early on here. You can't afford to race too hard because even if you're fast, we've seen it in the previous 2 LCQs. If you fall back 2-3 seconds behind that transfer zone, it's really tough to make anything happen. Further back, you mentioned some notables as the 055 there of Mullis, one of the BJR crews. He's going to be pretty much out of the LCQ. It'll take a miracle for him to make it in at this point. But a driver to note that's kind of carving his way through the field on a really rough day yesterday, Aiden Lorenko, the 29 machine. He's in 10th at the moment. Started this LCQ outside the top 15. He's moving his way forward, but it's tough. If the top 4 can work together and pull away, we know how difficult it is no matter how fast you are. This will help, though. Atwood, for a moment, peeked the nose on Hunter Bolton. Those 3 don't need to fight. The group behind them, this is where it can become chaotic. The driver in 4th, Safar on the gold cart. Redditch, who was on the front row to start this one, he's in 5th. He'll be frustrated alongside Eckinger. The more they fight, it'll give a chance to Nunez, to Lorenko. How about the 727, by the way, of Nunez? Up 17 spots to start this race.
Very surprised to see a move there from Brady Atwood. He obviously feels like he's being held back right now by Hunter Bolton, and I think Hunter got away a little bit too good out of that first chicane through this second one. That'll be a big run for Brady. Can he go anywhere with it down the backstretch? He will not be able to there. Maybe in the brake zone coming here to the grid corner. He's going to poke the nose through the bend, looking low for the lead. Atwood is through. Can Wheeler follow? He cannot. Bolton will tuck in line, and that lap of debating who gets to lead the pack has allowed everyone else to catch back up, and they're fighting again. That is going to be going to the wayside by the thanks to the 113. Chase Redditch in the number 30 will go all the way back now to Aiden Lorenko, who's going to give him the business there through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, Aiden Lorenko, he's rubbing his hands together. He thought he was probably done in this one early doors, but with all the fighting up front, surprisingly, like you mentioned, it's brought this entire group from 4th down to 9th back into the mix. You see the 125, Benjamin Safar, pointing, signaling to the top 3. Let's work together. If you're Cam Burris, why would you work together? Right now, that is the transfer zone. You really don't need to push that guy. You don't really owe them anything, right? This is the LCQ. This is to make the main event and not go home early. So Cam Burris on the MGM machine has been flying early on in this one. Further back, Lorenko, another spot up on Eckinger. That's for 7th. Side by side, he can't get the run through. Every time that you make a move and can't make it stick, you lose ground to the drivers in front.
Now moving into the top 10, how about Anthony Nunez there on the Barrel Art up the board. So Nunez in the 727 moving up. Let's see Jack Sutton there, Holiday, Sutton, Callahan, still within 7 seconds of the lead. Anything can happen right now with how big this pack is, and there's so much racing left, but I think the top 3 have at least kind of gotten their heads together. Brady Atwood leading, Hunter Bolton and Ashton Wheeler away as this group continues to go at it, and they're going to make contact enough that's going to really hurt the 125. Benjamin Safar from inside the transfer zone last time by the loop. He will be now 3 wide for the 9th position and maybe more as we head down the front straightaway.
Yeah, Redditch will at least be able to hold on at 8th there as they cross the stripe. That is the 727 of Anthony Nunez, who I believe is up 18 spots in this one here, Xander. Looking further back, a couple of notables to point out here. Matt Lyda in 15th. Adam Brickley down there in 17th position. He had the pace during qualifying, but the heat races did not go his way, and surprisingly the LCQ not able to make any headway in this one.
No, nothing really right now for him. And for a driver that we've seen be so fast over the years, especially when we come to his backyard here in North Carolina, Adam Brickley looks like he may not be able to join us in the senior medium main event right now. Still fighting with Aiden Lorenko, trying to claw his way up the board. One driver that has been in the top 10 in the mix of it through a lot of the heat racing moments that we captured last night and yesterday afternoon. But he needs some help and really just the battling to stop in this 6th on back scrum, because top 3, they're gone. The only hope anyone's got right now is that last ticket held by Cam Burris in the 113 MGM. He's by himself, so that leaves him a little bit vulnerable to the pack if they can kind of get it together. But right now, Aiden Lorenko doesn't have a pusher, so he is going to have to will his way to this black and blue number 113.
It's a simple case of who's faster at this point, which is, as a driver, all you could ask for, right? Mono fight. Keep it fair. Let's see this time around. Lorenko, 2/10 quicker than the 113 of Cam Burris. Burris is going to need to hope for some fighting up front or for Lorenko to miraculously start slowing down, because we know the 29 machine, when he has clean air, when he has some luck on his side, is as quick as anybody here in the senior medium class. And with 6 and a bit laps to go here in this LCQ, the timing and scoring is showing that Lorenko is quick enough to go out there and get that transfer zone. Looking ahead of Cam Burris, Ashton Wheeler has lost touch slightly to Hunter Bolton and Brady Atwood out front. So if you're the 7 machine, if you're the VLR crew, that is not what you want to see, because Ashton Wheeler now, has lost ground dramatically to Bolton, and Bolton notices it. I bet he'll continue to push Brady Atwood away, and now it is a 1v1v1 situation there. That's the battle for 3rd, 4th, and now Lorenko's 4/10 back from the transfer zone.
Yeah, he'll get there here in just a moment. And again, like you said, Ashton Wheeler cannot afford to slow down yet. We saw how quickly a gap could get erased in that junior LCQ Lourenco is much closer, and Chase Evans as well, or sorry, Colin Evans in the number 51 EOS kart, the privateer, rolled from a little bit further back on the grid. He leads that next pack that's all lined up finally. Took them a while to kind of sort it out and get rolling, but at least for the moment, it looks like they're single file, pushing, working together, and making some inroads. Well, I say that, they're going to fight in the middle of it. That looked like Nunez into the side of maybe Eckinger, but at least the front two of them could reel in the leaders if they begin to fade any more than they already are. Here's a look at the transfer zone, though. This will be a big moment, the deciding moment for Aiden Lourenco to officially punch his ticket to the big show. He'll poke the nose down low. Not going to have enough momentum to get there. Cam Burris will hold.
Yeah, I think Lourenco just showed his hand there. I was wondering what his strategy was. Was he going to try to get around the likes of Burris or push him up to Ashton Wheeler and then make the move? I think you add risk when you actually bring a go-kart back into the mix. So, yeah, he's going to get around Burris. He's going to at least put himself in prime position to hold on to that transfer zone. We have some shaking up here in the top three. Nobody's made any moves, but Ashton Wheeler has caught up to Hunter Bolton, and they have both lost ground to Brady Atwood. So now, all of a sudden, Atwood, you may think he's in a good spot. I almost think he's in a bad spot. When you're out front by half a second like that, and the two drivers behind you have hooked up, and these two of Lourenco and Burris can work together, I wonder what the decision-making is going to be for these drivers. If Atwood is quick enough to pull away, which we've seen in years past this racetrack and throughout the races this weekend, it's tough to pull away. Atwood's making it work right now, but I think if Wheeler and Bolton can work together with the pace that they've shown, this could be interesting in the closing stages of this one.
I don't know. It really, I think, comes down to can Cam Burris kind of throw a ratchet strap onto the back bumper of Aiden Lourenco and let him tow him back up to the lead, because otherwise I don't know if he's going to be able to get there. You can see that the gap is already opening between the pair. Last time by, Burris in the wake of Aiden Lourenco was able to close back in by 2/10 to your top three, so he's only going to get that benefit for maybe this lap. After that, if Lourenco keeps going at this blistering pace that he's putting in, 47 4s, 47 3s, he'll be out of the tow window for the 113. This could bring some excitement, though. Change for second. That is Ashton Wheeler now into the spot. Hunter Bolton is going to be in a very dangerous zone here in about a moment. Coming to 2 laps to go. Third place on the racetrack, probably the slowest right now of the three out in front, and 4th and 5th are catching. It'd be one thing if just Lourenco was going to get there, but when Aiden Lourenco gets to Hunter Bolton's bumper here in a second or two, then Cam Burris could have an opportunity to make an aggressive send, because he'll still be, I think, within reach.
Well, it's the magic of being in the draft. Cam Burris, if you would have told me 3 laps ago be matching the pace of Aiden Lourenco, the timetable wouldn't agree with you. But right now, Cam Burris was identical to the thousandths the same lap time as Aiden Lourenco. Those are the 2 fastest drivers on the racetrack. So if you're Cam Burris, you are actually the biggest Aiden Lourenco fan on the planet for these next 2 laps here, because Lourenco, if he can make a move on Hunter Bolton, that'll start to shake things up front and give you, if you're Cam Burris, a chance to go make it happen.
If you're Hunter Bolton right now, either at turn 1 or down the backstretch, the next opportunity you got, as crazy as it sounds, you need to probably try to make something happen and get by Ashton Wheeler. And if you're Ashton Wheeler, you cannot let the 21 go, because if he goes, Lourenco's following, and then you've got to fight with Burris for the transfer spot. You can see Aiden's already caught up. He's there. Burris is going to get there. This is going to stack up. They're still catching Brady Atwood. Here he goes. Hunter's got to go right now. Not there. Couldn't make it happen. Here comes Lourenco with a nose. Hunter's got to cover this off, and he's going to leave it open. He will not. Yes, he will. Lourenco sends it, still wheel-to-wheel for 3rd and 4th. Now Lourenco's going to be in a bad spot. Here comes Burris to the inside. Bolton stays 3rd. Burris into 4th. Lourenco's going to have to cross him up to the line. Brady Atwood is safe. Ashton Wheeler is safe, and Lourenco will miss it. Lourenco will be the one, the odd man out of the 5.
Cam Burris played his cards perfectly there. Like I mentioned, you're the biggest Aiden Lourenco fan if you're Cam Burris, and unfortunately for Lourenco, it was actually to his downfall, right? And so Cam Burris let Lourenco kind of open the hole for him and then took advantage. Hunter Bolton did not give up that 3rd place spot, and that's a difficulty of the last couple of corners around Charlotte Motor Speedway. When you have kind of a switchback situation. We saw so many drivers yesterday and today so far take that kind of cutoff road and go through the grass, and then the problem Lourenco had is he had one corner to get all the dirt off his tires, had no grip to make the crossover happen, and so for Aiden Lourenco, a driver that had the pace to be in the main event and make some noise, misses it.
You still never know. Of course, there's always tramline violations and a handful of post-race scrutineering that could take place, but as it stands, Aiden Lourenco first man out, Cam Burris last man in, Hunter Bolton, Ashton Wheeler, Brady Atwood will all transfer. Atwood leading all but a handful of the laps here in this LCQ. Colin Evans, Anthony Nunez, Benjamin Safar. Adam Brickley does crack the top 10 at the end from pretty deep in the field on the happy cart. His progress will end, though, outside the cut zone in 9th. Cooper Redditch, Ryan Curtin, Alex Grenzweg, Scott Kleiman, Brock Knowles, Jack Hughes, your top 15. And the final few that will not be joining us later this afternoon, Carson Bartlett, Linus Gugino, Thomas Ligon, Jack Sutton, Nolan Holiday, and then Gray Mullis, the last of those able to finish. Not sure what went wrong for Cole Eckinger, our off pole sitter, or actually our pole sitter, sorry, that did not even get to complete all the laps here in the LCQ. So he doesn't even get all 14, sadly. Goes out with 1 lap to go, it looks like. Was battling on that last lap. Didn't make it to the line. Matt Lyda, Tristan Laudel, they went out a couple laps ago. And then Kyle Landon on the debut for Pantano Chassis and the Lancota Racing Machine, 25th for him. He only got 9 of them recorded of the 14 in this LCQ. We're going to go back to the top of the batting order with warm-ups now for all of our classes here. And 50 drivers still provisional, again, for senior medium, and I'd imagine probably the same for junior and senior light, but they are going to have to sort those out pretty quickly. All 3 of those divisions coming up for one last round of practice, and then it'll be KC Premium members exclusively for main events in the afternoon. It's about a 10-minute break we've got right now in the on-track activity. That's going to give Caleb, of course, some time to see if we can catch up with some of the drivers that have made it through. We'll step aside, let our partners have a word, and come back in the other half with some moments and thoughts from our senior medium LCQ drivers.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR, with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today. DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the 2-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here.
more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
K1 Circuit, the world's greatest outdoor karting facility, is now open. Open karting and rental session schedules are available online. Rentals will resume today after the race event at 5 p.m. Thanks to Kart Chaser for live streaming the event at K1 Circuit, your coverage will resume shortly.
Welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway, America's home for racing. The 3 last chance qualifier races have just wrapped up, and we've started to get a few of the superstars through the scale line. Caleb, let's head down to you.
Thank you, Xander. Yeah, Aiden Lorenko here. Unfortunately, that LCQ just didn't end the way that you would have wanted. Walk me through it.
So I started 14th. I got really lucky on the start, made up a few positions, kept working my way like a position a lap. Finally got up to 4th, and it was catching the top 3. But on the last lap, I was just behind somebody who checked up harder than I expected them to. So I was forced to try and go around him, which didn't work. Ended up losing position, dropped back to 5th, and now I'm out.
And talk about your first weekend as well. It's been 4 years since you ran a 206 engine package, I should say. How has this first weekend been back for you here running at Cup Karts North America?
Really fun. I've been having a lot of fun with PPK, BGR, and the Coyote Karts. Been a really good learning experience. I'm enjoying the racing. It's a lot of fun to drive these 4-strokes. They're way different than anything I've ever driven. Like completely different from the OKN and X30s. But yeah, I like it. I'm hoping to do some more, maybe in the future.
Yeah, I mean, day's not over for you. Still have another race, a main event for you in Senior Light, starting in the 20s, I believe. So how has the weekend been in Senior Light, and how are you feeling going into that main event later on today?
Senior Light, I've been a lot better. I think I was 10th in happy hour. So we have a lot better pace, in Senior Light. We finally got the kart figured out. I finally figured out how to drive rigs. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be able to make a few spots.
There you guys have from Aiden Lorenko. Day not quite over just yet for Aiden.
Not quite. Alex, of course, you'll be going down to join Caleb for some more intel and hanging out on the grid here for the morning warm-ups. So we've got 9 of them coming up, and I think, that probably was the tamest batch of last chance qualifiers we have had, and I don't know how long. So tip of the hat to everyone involved for not throwing their weekend and go-karts into a dumpster with the way those races played out.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to touch on what Aiden Lorenko was discussing there with his go-karts. A lot of drivers, oftentimes when you're running senior medium, they tend to go for a senior light, double duty weekend. And speaking of Gafera, I know I mentioned it on the warm-up show this morning. He mentioned that he was running the same go-kart, and it's a lot tougher if you can't stay ahead of the go-kart. If you're fast and light, some drivers tend to struggle in medium, and I wonder if that's what's happening to Aiden Lorenko, because oftentimes when you add weight, well, naturally you're going to probably get gripped up. You might not be as free as you were in the senior light go-kart, regardless of if you are running the same go-kart or not. And so for a lot of drivers, you will see them, if you're wondering why a double-duty driver like Lorenko, like Gafera, are fast and light, not fast and medium, it's because it can be difficult. It's a minor setup change half the time. Usually it's just a gear change, but sometimes you'll see drivers struggle to free it up. And around a track like Charlotte Motor Speedway, you want to be freed up.
We're just moments away from getting this track warmed back up. Junior LCQ completed. We've got our 50 junior warm-up. You can see they're ready to pull the cords and get going. We'll be back after this.
You need it? We got it. At Kart Eat Parts, we are your complete online aftermarket kart part superstore. From chains to bearings to bumpers and components, we've got it in stock and ready to ship straight to your door from our base in Ontario, Canada. Check us out online at karteparts.ca.
Paulie Massimino wins in KA. Paulie Massimino is a winner in OKN Stars.
Take your driving to the next level with one-on-one coaching from 2024 OKN Stars champion Paulie Massimino. Kart rental options are available if you'd like to keep yours at home, and drivers in all classes are welcome. From Briggs 206 to Mini to KA100 and X30. With in-depth data analysis, onboard video footage review, and lead-follow on-track sessions, each private coaching session will see you end as a more complete driver than when you started. Book your coaching session now.
Brandon,
Why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Are you looking for an advantage?
Welcome back to morning warm-up action. Here we have the LCQs wrapped up, and we're back for more warm-ups. The main event warm-ups getting set to hit the racetrack. 206 Junior out on the racetrack now. Alex, talk about the LCQs and talk about what we're expecting to see here in the main events coming up shortly.
Well, Xander touched on it a little bit, right? That was some of the tamer LCQ action that I've seen, and if you're the drivers on the racetrack, if you're the team and the parents, you're happy, right? Obviously, not everyone's going to be happy, though. You come off an LCQ and you don't make the main, it means your day's done. You can go home early if you want to, or you can stay and watch the racing action, which will be chaotic, right? We saw drivers like Lorenko, Adam Brickley miss the main event. We know those are drivers that are capable of making the main, but again, it goes to show you how incredibly stacked every field is here at Cup Karts North America, here for the Spring Nats here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And it's a racetrack that is tough, it's challenging on the body, on the go-karts, on the drivers, and track position's everything, momentum is everything. That's going to be maybe the word of the day, Caleb, momentum. You're going to see drivers either having positive or negative momentum, and if you're going backwards, it's really hard to make it, stop. Here in the warm-up sessions, though, getting kicked off with our junior drivers here, and we saw a pretty good LCQ, and now for the main event, when you have a lot more go-karts on the racetrack, we talked about it this morning, Xander and I did in the booth, mentioning how once you start going backwards, like I mentioned, usually it's more than one driver. It's two, it's three, it's four drivers going by you. As you add go-karts for these main events, they're all going to be in the 30s, the 40s, even a field of senior heavy, starting 50 go-karts on the racetrack at one time. It can be difficult if you go backwards because a lot of go-karts are going to start following through. It'll make, the chess game that is 206 racing a lot more important.
And again, one of the biggest learning, myself and yourself both raced in events here at Cup Karts North America. One of the biggest things I think that I learned and struggled, especially running the Grand Nationals a couple of years ago, was getting passed by a lot of drivers. If you do make a mistake, or if you go offline, or if you find yourself offline. And another one of the big things is also making half moves. I know my coach that weekend, you and Jeffrey, was very mad at me just doing a lot of half moves, right? Sticking those on the inside, not completing passes as well. It's another one of the big things here that you cannot afford to do. You're going to go for a move, you got to go and you got to make it stick, and that's the key for these main events, right? You need to get yourself in the top 10. Realistically, if you're not in the top 10 when you get to the last 5 laps, you're not within a shot of a race win.
Well, that's the thing, right? We've touched on it throughout the weekend, how much time you lose making a pass. And so if you're going to go for a pass, the last thing you can do, and it's one of the first things as a coach or as somebody being taught, is don't make a half move. You're going to poke your go-kart out and go for the pass. You either got to go for it or, go home, right? You got to go for it because you're already going to lose time by making the pass. You're going to lose more time by making a half move and then backing out of it. So it's pretty much 2 times the loss by making a half move. So that's like you mentioned it. You'll hear us probably say it a lot throughout the day-to-day in the main events. Drivers making half moves. Sometimes, you poke your nose because you think you have a run and then you don't have a run. If you can, it's better to slot in line than go through a corner side by side and then not make the move stick.
Yeah, exactly. A couple of drivers on the racetrack are riding CKNA, currently quickest in the 196 MGM machine. Nathan Dupuis, again, we talked about the low-key racing Sodi machine yesterday, the 241. Very, very quick, and he got himself up in the front of the race, and he really, you saw Nathan do a lot of pushing again yesterday and work his way up there. But again, for the first time today, another thing to note is that all the drivers from odd and even, it's going to be the first time that they race each other in main event action. So you're going to have to learn how to race with, other guys, different drivers as well. In that main event, you're going to have different factors that you didn't have in your heat races. So it's going to be a learning curve for a lot of these drivers. And again, putting yourself in a good position. You heard from Emily DeMaster as well. Finding a buddy is going to be key. You heard in the LCQ. Finding a buddy, I think, in the main events is also one of the things. A couple of keys we already got, right? Momentum, number one. Finding a buddy and just keeping your head on your shoulders as these races progress.
Finding a buddy is Well, it's twofold, right? Because it's easier to find a buddy because you're doubling the go-karts on the racetrack from yesterday, but it's harder because, like you said, you're so used to driving with half the group. You add another half, now you have drivers that you don't know, or at least at this year, this event, how they've been racing throughout the weekend. And so maybe a driver that you started next to for the heat races is a couple, rows up or behind you, and all of a sudden you have to find a new buddy. And sometimes it's hard to build that trust because in a main event, why would you trust somebody? Everyone's here for themselves, and at the end of the day, it's a team sport until it's not, and everyone wants to go on the top step.
And how about a couple of good drivers here as well on your screen? Taylor out there in the number 4 spot, and we have a lot of the Mark Steel Burrell art machines as well inside of the top 10. Paulie D. Hart, Christopher Yautsy, they're going to continue to shuffle, but Holden Harder out there, and they've all kind of found themselves on the racetrack, and that's another thing that we haven't really touched on today, but for the first time, a lot of these drivers, a lot of these teammates are going to find themselves with a lot more go-karts that are very similar looking to their own, so that's another one thing to note, right? Yesterday it was kind of avoiding the BJR PK Coyotes from walking out the front 2 rows, where it's going to make it harder for the rest of the field to kind of get up there. So that's another one of the things, right? You got to find yourself with teammates, maybe even as well teammates on your own brand or under your own tent as well to look out for. So that's going to be, I think, one of the biggest things today. Kid Karts getting set to roll out. We're going to move out of the way here as well. They're going to work their way out. But one of the key things to notice here in this Kid Kart class, especially Kid Knaus, his kart, they have the front nose fairing taped down just to prevent airflow through there as well, and all the cracks in the chassis as well, where you see the seals on the floor plate as well. So very, very aerodynamic for Kip Knaus, and we'll see if he can get something done as well later on today.
Everything counts here at a Cup Karts North America here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and no matter if you're in kid kart or in senior medium, people are always trying to find that little advantage. And like you mentioned, it's no surprise to see Kip Knaus doing stuff like that because we know his dad, Chad Knaus, helped Jimmy Johnson go out there and win 7 titles in the Cup Series, right? And for a guy, for a brain that was able to just be that smart in racing, no surprise to see the kid go out there and kind of do the same thing with the team. So I'm sure he's not the only driver doing that, and I'm sure us saying that on the broadcast might open some ears here in the paddock, and maybe we'll see some more people do it.
Maybe or maybe not, right? It took Kipper quite some time, 16 laps. I was talking to his mechanic, Drew James, and he was like, man, Kip definitely had the pace to get up there out in front, but it took him a while. It took him 2 heat races, and on the last lap, he was able to get it done, so that should put Kipper within a good spot.
I got to say, part of that's because Maddox Knives was incredibly quick around this place.
Yes.
And a textbook defensive driving from Maddox, right? Because in the kid kart class, we talked to you and Jeffrey this morning, it is flat out around this entire place, right? There is no lifting, no braking. It is just foot to the floor and make it stick. And so for Maddox Knives, I think he has this place figured out. He knows he doesn't have to use all the racetrack because, again, these go-karts are flat out. You might as well shorten the distance of the racetrack. And so by doing that, in turn, it also becomes defensive driving.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you saw Maddox very aggressive approach throughout some of the corners, like you said, cutting the radius off in some of them as well. Another driver is going to get back up into the mix. Matteo Romeo, we were saying his name wrong last night. I was saying Romeo, and I know Matteo came up to me today, and he was not happy that we were saying his name wrong. So he came up to me, he was like, my name's Romeo, and I was like, all right, we'll get it fixed up for you. So Matteo Romeo getting set to start here as well in this kid kart class, and a couple of other drivers all throughout as they get set to hit the racetrack. They're right behind us, hopefully. They all make it through without flipping our ankles here, Al. So they're working their way out onto the racetrack now, and again, more working their way through. So we'll see, how it kind of all goes through, Alex, as well. But these kid karts, honestly, has been some of the closest and most competitive kid kart racing I think that I've seen all year long, and they've really kept us on our toes. And it's good to see. They have a shorter main event, but they're definitely going to provide some really good racing action.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we have one go-kart stopped on the exit of the final corner. Let's see if we can get a number and chassis here. It's going to be the 117, I believe, there, who was just spun around. Cold tires, pretty easy to fall victim to that around this place, especially with the young kids out there, right? Still learning what it's like to drive on cold tires. It's a pretty cold morning here in Charlotte, so again, it takes a lap or two to get some heat in the tires and get a grip and get comfortable, especially with these young kids. And so you mentioned it, right? Not only some of the best kid car racing I've seen in quite some time, that was almost the race of the day, that heat number 2 yesterday with Kip Knaus and Maddox Knives going after it. Kip making the move on the final lap around the outside of turn number 5. So really impressive stuff. Doesn't matter if these kids are 5, 6, 7 years old. They know how to put on a show for us.
Yeah, they've been super impressive all week long, really, for all these kid karts. One driver stopped on the racetrack, the 86, I think, stalled just on the inside of the double left-hander there. So issues for one driver. Hopefully the CKNA staff can get him back rolling. The 86 there, we'll get a name on that number here as well. Ben Brumbaugh, the driver there, he currently sits 10th on your timing charts there. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen. He was off the racetrack there for a second, able to get back going in his comp kart. And two drivers together here, the 117, it looks like
That's Charlotte Tomlinson there in the 117.
And then the 110 as
of
well.
Lane Craig.
Man. And hopefully we don't see much of this when we get into main event racing action, Alex. Yeah, Lane Craig and Tomlinson together.
The thing is with these young kids, right, they know one thing, and it's driving fast and it's racing hard. So it's no surprise here in the warm-up session. They're warming up to race, and so why not race in the warm-up session? That's kind of like their mindset. And again, as the coaches and the parents and the mechanics of these young kids, young rising stars here in the sport of racing, it's just letting them know, you know, in the warm-up session, you don't have to go out there and drive as hard maybe as you would in the main event.
Yeah, definitely not. Just want to get yourself warmed up, mentally prepared to go out there on the racetrack and do what you know how to do, right? So that's really the goal here in this one as well. And we're going to see how kind of they go on. But we're going to move our way into the grid here, Alex. And again, your senior lights getting set to hit the racetrack in a couple of moments. So we're excited to see the kid karts. They've definitely provided a lot of great racing action all weekend long, and we'll see them out there as well for their main event, we should say. I'm going to work my way in here, actually. Talk to Owen Lloyd. Owen, a pretty good weekend for you thus far. You're there in every single one of the classes. Talk a little bit about how this weekend's gone for you and how the year's kind of started for you guys.
Yeah, it's been going pretty well overall. We've had a fast car in the past, like 2 years, I'd say. And Heavy's definitely our best class so far, but we're the top 10 for all three classes, so looking forward to at least top fives.
And you and Colin have been working pretty well together all weekend. What's it kind of been like having another South Georgia karting MGM up there with you?
Yeah, it's nice to have a teammate for once. Finally have someone with me, and I think we'll do pretty good together. We ain't been in the heat races together in the light and medium, so we should get a pretty good run, I think.
Well, there you guys have Owen Lloyd. We'll let you get ready for your warm-up session. And again, he's a driver that's been there in every single one of the classes that he's been in, Alex. I mean, you talk about senior light, senior medium, senior heavy as well. He's always been a contender inside of the top 5 in every single one of those classes. So, and again, only a voice there, but you heard how, you know, focused he's been all year long, and having him and Colin up there is I think, the only thing he needed to kind of get himself up there and stay up there as well.
Yeah, well, it's nice to have a teammate that's as quick as you. And speaking with Colin Aiken yesterday on the interview, in his words, it was, kind of a breeze, he said. It's just nice, like you mentioned, Aiken and Lloyd being so fast and starting on the front row. It's tough for one to be the drivers behind them with two teammates leading this field to the green, but two, having a guy that you could trust at all times and just know that you can bounce setup ideas off of. It makes your life a lot easier out here on the racetrack. And so for Owen Lloyd, Colin Aiken, not only is it impressive to go out there and show the speed that they have had in senior heavy, they're both running 3 classes, light, medium, and heavy. And they're both quick in all 3 classes. I touched on it a little bit this morning, how sometimes you'll see drivers like Caleb Guevara, Aiden Lorenko, and others run 2 classes with light and medium and struggle in at least one of them, and it's usually the medium class, because you take weight off the go-kart, you'll probably start freeing up the kart a little bit more. And so as you start adding weight, especially if you use the same go-kart, naturally you're going to be more stuck to the racetrack and you're going to try to stay ahead of the setup more. So it is really impressive to see drivers like Lloyd and Aiken run 3 classes, run 3 different setups, 3 different gears, and make it work no matter what.
Yeah, we're going to talk to some of the Legends drivers here as well that are getting set to hit the racetrack. Phil, can I have a quick word with you here? First of all, a pretty good day for you yesterday, finishing inside of the top 3, but I know a snap chassis for you at the end of the day. Talk about that and how your weekend's been so far.
Weekend's been great. Qualifying was pretty tough. We got stuck and stuff like that. So, wow, it's a great series. I enjoy racing the older guys, but we started 7th, came to P4, and then we did a bunch of adjustments, and I was able to catch Kleiss, who's super fast this weekend, and took 2nd. I was 2nd. And then there was a penalty, so I took 1st. So I think we got something to clean in the cart, and I saw it was cracked. 2 struts on the left side were cracked, so I got those welded this morning. Hopefully they keep up.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about your year as well. You've been very busy, I guess, helping the next generation of drivers, right? Haven't been in the seat as much. I think last time we saw you was at the IKF Grand Nationals. How's it been back? How's it kind of been getting back into racing action this weekend?
Getting back into action is pretty tough. I'm working with Brody Stoffel, great little 9-year-old out of Texas, full-time this year. I think we got like 21 races this year. So I'll be leaving here, going to Daytona, and then back to Texas for Rock and Scusa. So 21 weeks is a lot, but I always try to get in the kart so they see that I do know what I'm doing. So it always helps me in the long run when I'm able to get back in the kart.
And a good start for you in the main event. Are you going to keep it interesting for us?
P2. What's that?
Are you going to keep it interesting for us?
I'm hoping just to push Kleiss and get away from all the mess. That's the name of the game. So you always need a partner in 4-stroke L206, and we'll just go from there. 2 laps left and game's on.
There you go. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you very much, guys.
You guys have it. Finding a buddy, and Alex, I think that's the biggest thing, right? Finding a buddy is one of the things that we've talked about. And you heard Phil talk about it. Emily DeMasters talked about it all weekend long. So we'll see how that kind of stacks up here as well.
Yeah, for sure, Caleb. It's the name of the game, right? I still think momentum is the word of the day, but buddy might also be the word of the day.
Yeah.
Now, it's funny. We actually had a discussion this morning, so I want to actually throw it on down to you guys watching the broadcast here or down on pit lane. Is buddy? Is it good to call somebody buddy or pal? What's better? Because we had this discussion inside the booth this morning. We were saying we called each other buddy, and we're like, I don't know if I want to be called buddy. And then we said pal, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to be called pal either. So let us know, pal or buddy. What's worse?
I would say friend. We're friends, right? If me and you
friend's
were out
good.
there,
Friend's good.
If me and you were out there on the racetrack, I'd say
What if I called you buddy?
I think it'd be all right. I'd be all right with it. I'd be all right with it for now.
All right, buddy.
Well, there you guys have it. Senior light rolling, senior heavy rolling out onto the racetrack here, and a couple of drivers who have been working their way into the field. Talk about the chaotic start. Chris Carroll was involved in an incident there, I believe, with the number 7 as well. And then again, more incidents for a couple of other drivers. Logan Stevens was one of the drivers that kind of found himself trying to work his way through the field in that one as well. But this senior heavy class, again, all of them made it into the main event, but you have a lot of the heavy hitters that you see. And some of the ones that you see.
This class is stacked. It's full of go-karts. All of these drivers have seen with each other. They're one of the few classes that didn't get split up yesterday during the heat races, and so all 48 will see the green today. And we touched on it, right? In the junior field where they got split up odd and even, it'll be the first time in event action that those juniors will be on the same racetrack together. These senior heavy guys at least have experience with each other throughout the day yesterday and now into today. So I feel like in a class like this, it is pretty easy to find a buddy who's been racing with them all weekend long. And a lot of these drivers in the senior heavy field have, they're veterans at this point in the CKNA side of things. So they all know how each other races. But again, let's go through some of the notable names, right? We talked to Owen Lloyd. We talked about Colin Aiken. We talked to the only 2 drivers that we know are fast. And maybe at this point in the weekend, the 2 fastest drivers in senior heavy. But looking further down, you got Ronnie Clydes who's been fast. Eli Fox, we know he's quick. He's running multiple classes this weekend. Always a really good shout at a chance at a victory on the Coyote machine. He's been a veteran in the class and for the Coyote brand. He's been a big ambassador for them. Nick Sobiek, we know he's been struggling throughout the weekend. Didn't put a time down in happy hour. It really cost him a qualifying. He's been charging his way through methodically throughout the heat race. He's got a pretty good shot. Hunter Bolton, we just saw him make it into the main on the senior medium side of things. He's running multiple classes on the senior heavy. He's got a better weekend going for him in senior heavy than he did in senior medium, but nonetheless, still pretty solid for him. Bryce Frank, he was struggling on Friday, figured it out on Saturday. In medium, he started 36th in the first heat race, went up to 16th. On the heavy side of things, he's been a consistent top 10 guy.
Yeah, he's definitely been up there. And again, it all started, his first national podium, I believe, was over at Pit Race last year at the Summer National. So that was one of the best showings that we saw out of Bryce. And again, just missing that last little bit to get himself inside of the pipe for the race lane. Hopefully we can see him get up here as well this weekend, Alex. But one of the things I want to mention here as well, what I like the most about this class is the fact that we have a lot of the young guys. We talked about Nick Zobiak, we talked about a Bryce Frank. you also have these older drivers like Chris Carroll, like Sean Meyer. You have the experience, and you have that, veterans in the class that of the Masters. One of the best young drivers in this class as well.
Yeah, we touched on it, right? You have some of the young guns, you have some of the veterans. This class combines both. I know myself, when I was a young gun, I guess I still am at 21, but I have run heavy one time. Believe it or not, if you've seen me, you wouldn't really believe it. But there's a reason why I ran it just once, and it's because I broke the kart stand with how heavy my go-kart was. So you probably won't ever see me in a super heavy go-kart ever again. But nonetheless, like you mentioned, it is cool because this class does combine in both. There really isn't. It's a senior class at the end of the day, except for some of the heavier guys, but you can throw on as much lead as you want and make it work. And so it's a really good class. It pretty much is like senior medium. It's a little bit heavier. So that's why a lot of the guys that are running senior medium are also running heavy.
And again, the more weight you add, it tends to be the fact that the more grip you end up having in the go-kart as well. So that can be a factor for a lot of these drivers, for the likes of Lloyd or whoever else that's running the same chassis from more than one class. We heard Caleb G talk about it. So the weight could be a little bit of a difference as well when you talk about setup and how you're kind of how you're going to get working out there on the racetrack. Nicholas Kiefer leading Owen Lloyd, Colin Aikman away here. That Mach 1 again, it's been not the best weekend for Nicholas in the number 5 Mach 1 machine. He's been up and down, got involved in a couple of incidents. Saw his front nose ring get ripped off of that Mach 1 package, and again, he's trying to keep himself up at the front end. He seems to have pretty good pace so far here to start off the morning, staying under the South Georgia Karting MGM. So there's a couple of others. AJ Roderick, another one that we're expecting to see up there at the front of the field. Eli Fox, talked about him and how he's been on his new gen machine, getting his elbows out there on some of the races. You talked about how he had to kind of dial it down a little bit after heat race number 1. Felt like he was just a little bit over-aggressive, toned it down for heat race number 2. And again, he fell backwards just that little bit, and he's trying to keep his new gen machine up there at the point of the field. But again, a lot of factors in this. He settles, I think, one of the things that we're going to see as well. Hand in the air, checkered flag out. Owen Lloyd, quickest of the morning warm-up session. Hunter Bolton in second, Colin Aiken to AJ Rada, John Meyer, Eli Fox, Chris Carroll, Ronnie Flies in that one as well. So a good little bit of morning warm-up action here, Alex. It's been honestly a smooth sailing day as well for a lot of us here. For some of these drivers already ending early in the LCQs, but a lot of main event action getting set to come your way. And again, become a KC member. You don't want to miss any of the racing action that's coming your way live in a couple of moments. Again, only $9.99 a month. You can watch all of the racing action live with KC Premium.
It's a pretty good deal.
It's a pretty good deal. It's cheaper than Netflix, cheaper than cable TV. Starbucks is, I think, more expensive nowadays as well. So we'll see. Hopefully we see you guys on the other side as well behind our paywall. But a couple of more of our young guns getting set to hit the racetrack, Alex. And again, a couple of the younger classes as well have been very, very interesting to see. You see a lot of 2-driver breakaways in those younger classes where they kind of get out in front and stay out in front for the majority of the time.
Well, you talk about the young guns. If we look behind us here, it's actually going to be the oldest crew here this weekend. The Legends guys. The Legend guys are going out there, but these guys, they don't race like old guys, all right? They race like veterans. A lot of these drivers can actually still compete in senior medium, senior heavy. We've seen them do it, and some of them are doing it. But oftentimes, this Legends class is here because the old guys didn't want to get roughed up by some of the young guns, right? And so they want to keep their body underneath them, and that's why there's the Legends class, the Masters class. A lot of these drivers run double duty in that.
Yeah, and they're there with Jerry Fanders. Well, good morning to you as well this morning, Jerry. Hopefully you're staying warm up there. And you can see behind us, this grid is very, very busy this morning. We have 2 lanes here as well. Your cadets on the right side, your Legends here on the left side of your screen. So it's a very busy morning. You see the stands are packed. This entire fence line is going to be filled with people, fans, and family watching the racing action all weekend long. And again, it's definitely provided. I think Turn 1 is the best spot to be with a great opening section of the racetrack that's provided. Incidents, a little bit of early ends to a couple people's races, but again, we're going to see a lot of action here in this opening sector. And shout out to Jerry and the rest of our camera crew as well, doing a good job out here this morning. So good morning to you, Jerry. Hopefully you're staying warm up there, and good morning to the Legends and to the cadets that are getting set to hit the racetrack here in a couple of moments, Alex.
Yeah, our camera guys are troopers. I mean, I had to give them a shout out this morning as I watch out for my ankles here a little bit, but should be good to go. These guys, just like the CKNA staff, just like all the mechanics and the drivers, out here in the cold. It's a little bit warmer than it was yesterday without the wind, but I took my gloves off at least, so I'm a little bit warmer, but I still got 3 jackets on. So, but I have the luxury of going back into the booth here and there and getting a little bit warm. So for the camera guys who are out here all day, for the CKNA staff, shout out to you guys. I know it's cold. You guys are hanging in there and have put on a great show.
A little bit of contact early on by a couple of our masters, the 516. And 2 others, it seems like, have gotten collected here to start this morning warm-up session off. And again, not the goal when you get out to morning warm-up, right, Alex? You just want to get out there and set some laps and you know, just put yourself in a good position as well to try and we'll see if we can catch a couple more drivers on the grid as well as they continue to foul their way in. We got a couple of the young guns here, the cadets getting set to hit the racetrack, but again, talk to the legends, Phil Pignataro, when he was missing to get up there to Ron Prize, and again, his goal is just staying up there with them, pushing themselves further and further away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, well, let's see now. The Legends crew has started to settle down here in this warm-up session. It's in the name, right? Morning warm-up. It's all about warming up the piece you got underneath you, warming up your body, because you're going to need it. It's pretty cold out here. And again, the last thing you want to do is end up spun around and warm up or pulling early for an issue. Then you really don't know what piece you got underneath you when the races come around in a couple hours' time here for this Legends crew. But we're on the racetrack. Once starts to go through, we'll get a good idea for who's quick, who's not right now, and it's no surprise to see the likes of Insco there, Pignataro quick as well. We saw him put on a pretty good show for us last night under the lights. I know he crossed the line P2 after the post-race penalty, ended up winning the race. I think it's puts him P2 for the main event today.
Correct.
So Piggy, always the driver that keeps us on our toes, provides entertainment no matter where he goes. And he made a good point, right? Because he's working with Brody Stoffel over there. But whenever he can get back in the seat, it adds credibility to you as a coach, as a driver, as a mechanic. You get to prove that you actually know how to wheel.
That's the biggest thing, right? For the likes of Mark Steele, who gets in the go-kart every now and then, and see him go out there and set him some laps and show his drivers how he's done. That's the biggest thing as well for Phil Pignataro. But again, I do want to mention his chassis did crack yesterday in the sheet strut. You heard him say, so we'll see. It could be that he goes faster than what he did yesterday. Sometimes that does happen whenever you do snap a chassis a couple times and you're reloading and reloading, or it just maybe it just will never work the same way it did before. But he's having a pretty good morning session inside of the top 10. Again, he was up there and just has to keep himself up there as well. And I stand corrected. He just looked at 58.126 for Phil Pignataro. But that chassis is working quite nicely. We'll start this one off. Mikey Todd in second, Todd Barron in third, Insco Teglienko, who again got together with Todd Bolton yesterday, and the two of them kind of talked about it. They got themselves up to 10 and 11. I know Todd Bolton with a good average finish for him. He's starting up in third, I believe, to start this main event. He said he can win from there or get himself going home with some hardware.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, it's a long main event, and there's a handful of drivers that can win it. They showed it during the heat races yesterday. It's a main event. These Legends guys, they're not afraid to get their elbows out, but they usually keep it clean for the first part of the race, and then they know as the race unfolds, anything goes, gloves come off, and it's time to dance a little bit. So for Bolton, for Barron, for Pignataro, and for a couple other guys here in this Legends class, I expect the show just like they put on for us in the heat race, but it's anybody's game for the top 7 podium later today.
Yeah, definitely going to be anybody's game as the day continues, and we'll see who can have a good day as well. So yeah, we're going to try and catch up with as many drivers as we can before we get into the main event racing action later on today, Alex. But Senior Light, I think, getting set to hit the racetrack in a couple of moments as well, and I think Alex is catching up with some more of our drivers here.
Yeah, Caleb, down here with Nicky Palladino. And Nicky, I think this is a little bit interesting for me to interview because we used to actually have some battles on the racetrack down at the Florida Winter Tour a couple years ago. But Nicky, I'd say up and down weekend for you. How would you kind of sum it up for us?
Well, my morning was pretty good. Before all the heats, I was pretty quick. And then heat 1, I got wrecked closer to the beginning of the race. So tried my best to keep up with the guys. Heat 2, I went 26 to 15. It was pretty good. Overall, I'm starting 39th in the final, so it's going to be tough, but I'm going to try my best.
You're a guy who knows how to drive in the colder weather from Canada, so how do you feel like your go-kart's handling right now in the colder temperatures?
Considering last night, I was pretty quick, so I think it's going to be pretty good. It's hard for me to set up in the heat because I don't come here too often. So I think I have a better shot now that the weather is pretty cold.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
And engines getting fired up here on the grid as well, Alex. The cadets getting set to hit the racetrack, but more and more senior lights working their way out here as well. So we'll wait for more of these drivers to kind of come onto the grid and work their way out here. Checkered flag in the air. Stifle quickest of the morning warm-up sessions. Todd Barron in second. Mikey Todd in third. Phil Pignantero across the line in fourth. And again, that chassis working quite nicely for him here this morning. Insco in the top 5. JD Gunn, Eli Yanko, James Perkins in 8th. Jeff Chalmers in 9th. And Cook inside of the top 10. We're going to work our way to the front of the grid. I've caught up with a couple of more drivers here as well. Coming with me now, Kelvin Zing out of the state of Texas. Kelvin, first of all, not a bad showing for you this weekend, I would say. Again, considering how you ended up the Grand Nationals, how's this weekend been for you so far? Summarize it for us.
It's been pretty good. We kind of came in with expectations of, running with the top guys, probably top 10. Say pace-wise, we're getting there. We fell a little bit behind. We didn't really qualify very well, but raced our way into a top 20 spot. So that's kind of looking where we're trying to go for light and medium. So I feel pretty good about the final, just long race, kind of like Grand. So just methodically make your way through and try to get the best result.
And I would say last year, I think you had your breakout race here in senior light. You were working your way through the field, ended up off the racetrack. And again, I don't want to remind you of that, but I guess how are you looking to kind of avoid that, where you can get yourself out of situations like that in the main event here today?
Just be aware of who you're racing with, kind of seeing like how the situations develop, corner over corner. And really that's about it. I know it's a long race, but you gotta be smart, but you also gotta be aggressive as well.
There you go. Thank you, Kelvin.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Kevin.
There's that from Kelvin, and again, more drivers working their way up to the grid. The cadets getting set to hit the racetrack here in a couple of moments' time.
All right, well, as our cadets head out onto the racetrack here, I thought I'd grab this gear before we head out for our warm-up session for the senior light crew. Let's go driver here who has had an up-and-down weekend. Adam Brickley. Adam, what's up, buddy? I mean, first and foremost, senior medium LCQ didn't really go the way you would have wanted. How would you kind of sum up your weekend, first of all, in senior medium, and then we'll talk about light?
The weekend hasn't been going too bad. Got this happy cart. It's been really good. We got the cart dialed. We've had pace. It's just got a little unlucky in heat 1 and got wrecked at turn 1. Same thing with heat 2. Got wrecked in turn 4. And hopefully in the LCQ, we're fast. The cart's still quick. So we're gonna go out on medium light or senior light or whatever it is. We'll try and get it done.
What you learned from senior medium and how tough it is to kind of keep yourself even in the main event here. What have you learned from senior medium that you could transfer over to senior light?
I think I just gotta stay calm, stay cool. I'm only I think I'm starting 12th or something in the final, so it's not 2 strokes, so you can't throw dive bombs and stuff because you just lose all your momentum and there goes the pack. But we're gonna take this happy cart to the front and go get a win.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, thank you.
Actually, a really good point there from Adam Brickley, right? Because that's a driver that we know from the track house side of things, running the 2-cycle. You can get away with making lunges, right? Dive bomb passes, and you have power to kind of bail yourself out here in the motorcycle stuff, you don't as often, right? And so for Adam Brickley, a driver that's used to run out two-cycle stuff more often, it is tough. And like we've noticed on the racetrack, right, here at Charlotte Speedway, anytime you make a move, you tend to lose a lot of time.
Yeah, and we're going to catch up with more drivers here real quick before you hit the racetrack here, Christopher. A good day for you so far, a couple of heat race victories to your name, and the whole team's rolling. Describe your weekend up to this point.
Yeah, I qualified pole in medium and like 15th or 14th in light. Had some good heats, made up some spots, won both my medium heats. Our team is super fast, we have great pace, and I think today we just kind of need to not beat ourselves.
And again, not beat yourselves. It seems like that's the key for you guys. Who are you kind of looking at to get up there? A lot of young teammates for you guys as well. Talk about Lucas Cader as well, another one of the young drivers that's kind of gotten himself up there with you guys.
Lucas and Cader are super quick. James is starting to be immediate. Jared and he's really quick as well. And we have 6 of the top starting immediate, so should be good.
Very good. Thank you, Christopher, and apologies for the audio on that one as well. We'll try and regroup up here as well. But again, Senior Light getting set to hit the racetrack. The cadets out there now. Feichtinger picking up where you left off yesterday. Quickest here in the morning sessions. Ruben Greer in second. Slate Harrow in third. Yusuf Addy in fourth. Stockwell, your top 5 here so far. So far, Alex, the cadets, a pretty good session. Just over 2 minutes to go left in that one. And again, these drivers here, especially talk about Feichtinger being up there, Greer as well, and Slate Harrow. I think those are 3 drivers that were up there all day long yesterday and really fighting for the lead. They really had top 3 breakaways all day long yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you mentioned, those 3 drivers and a handful more have a shot in this one. We know that no matter what, any Cup Cars North America event, right, whether you're running cadet, sportsman, junior, senior, heavy, masters, legends, whatever class it may be, you can be fast all weekend through the practices, through qualifying, through the heats. The main event is a different story. It's a one-and-done situation, and so more often than not, we tend to see drivers who maybe weren't in the mix all the way make it happen in the main event because they took little bites out of the apple and they found something for that main event.
Yeah, that's going to be the key thing as well, right, for those young drivers to find stuff for the main event and to continue to work their way through it as well. But more of these young drivers as well working their way up to the grid. The sportsmen working their way up here as well. We talked about Parker Odds, Aston Wyatt, Cade Wolf. Again, very, very quick all day yesterday. Also, you can catch up with a couple of those sportsman drivers before they hit the racetrack here as well, Al. But again, the cadets just 50 seconds to go out there. Feichtinger still leads the field away with the fastest lap so far. Slate Harrow currently second. Greer to Sears, Yusuf Addy, your top 5.
Need it? We got it. At Kart Eat Parts, we are your complete online aftermarket kart part superstore. From chains to bearings to bumpers and components, we've got it in stock and ready to ship straight to your door from our base in Ontario, Canada. Check us out online at karteparts.ca.
Paulie Massimino wins in KA. Paulie Massimino is a winner in OKN Stars.
Take your driving to the next level with one-on-one coaching from 2024 OKN Stars champion, Paulie Massimino. Kart rental options are available if you'd like to keep yours at home, and drivers in all classes are welcome. From Briggs 206 to Mini to K100 and X30. With in-depth data analysis, onboard video footage review, and lead follow on-track sessions, each private coaching session will see you end as a more complete driver than when you started. Book your coaching session now.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Car Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Car Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit carclass.com to get your track information.
So you will finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're gonna need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com? They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rip protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Let's go race.
Come on, man.
The senior crew is now out on the racetrack. We got a chance to talk to a couple of them there before they headed out onto the racetrack during the grid. One of them being Adam Brickley, a driver that we know is quick, has the pace to go out there and get it done. Couldn't get done in the senior Medium LCQ, but rolling off inside the top 15 for the senior light main event and just seeing what he can do here in this one.
Indeed there, Alex. A couple of drivers out there on the racetrack now. Isaac Malquit, one of the ones we talked about yesterday. Pretty quick as well with a couple of race victories. Owen Lloyd currently quickest. Some of our younger drivers here to start off the morning. Cade, a good day for you yesterday. I see your rotor new livery that we've seen. So talk about how your weekend's been up to this point.
Yeah, we did pretty good yesterday.
Talk about the speed and how the track has changed as well over the weekend, Cade.
I mean, it stayed same really. Like, I'm thankful it hasn't rained because I'm not too good in the rain, but yeah.
And it seems like Parker and Aston are also pretty quick. You've been up there to split them up. What's kind of your goal as well going into the main event later on today?
I'm going to try to get the lead early, and hopefully we can get away.
Best of luck to Caden. Suit as well for the Timmy Tech driver here as well. More of them out here on the grid. We'll see if we can catch a word with Parker Ives. Parker, a good day for you yesterday, but quite some time since you've been in the 206 as well. Talk about your return. I think almost a year since you've been in this packet.
Oh yeah, definitely been a little bit since we've been in a Briggs though. But Stewart gave us a good engine, and we really capitalized on that, and we're doing good.
And you and Aston seem to be working pretty good together yesterday. I guess, how are you feeling having a teammate up there with you?
Yeah, feeling good. I mean, someone I can trust. So I can just, someone who can work with me, and someone I can work with and get data from to see where we can both do better. But yeah, it's great.
Thank you, Parker.
Thank you.
It's happening. Parker Ives as well, getting sent to the racetrack later on today. So we'll talk to a couple of more. Aston White actually already in the go-kart. We'll talk to Aston here pretty quick as well. Aston, you're ready to go. Just a minute left in this session, but you've been pretty quick all weekend long. I should say you and Parker have been up there. What's it been like kind of working with him as well this weekend?
It's been good.
Going into the main event?
Yeah, we had to fix we weren't getting full gas, so gonna see how it goes.
There you go. Best of luck, Aston. You guys have from Aston White. He's getting set to hit the racetrack as well here with Parker Ives and a couple of more drivers as well. Talk to Cade Wolf, Parker Ives, Aston White. All these drivers have been pretty quick yesterday, Alex, we should say, and again, showing their speed, showing their pace so far this weekend, which I think has been the biggest thing for some of the young drivers. Teammates, buddies, has been the biggest key here this weekend as we're going to get out of the way here, Al, but so far, so good today to get this one going. And again, more and more drivers working their way out here this weekend. Alex, first of all, talk to teammates like Parker Ives, like Aston White, and a couple of drivers that are kind of running solo up there in Cade Wolf and splitting them up. He said getting the lead early, taking control of the race was a key to victory for him today.
Yeah, he's not the only one throughout the classes that is having that sort of difficulty, right, with being fast. But the problem is it's a 1v2 situation, right? You have two drivers who are willing to work together, they're teammates, and they can bounce setup ideas off of, bounce strategy off of, and so strategy almost goes out the window whenever a main event starts, right? You can never really plan for an event. You can hope, but you can't really plan because you can't predict. You don't know what's going to happen on the racetrack. But for Aston Wyatt and Parker Ives, two guys that they know if they can stick to each other's bumpers, right, glued to each other, it's just one of those situations where if you're Cade Wolf, you know you're fast. Your one goal is going to be to split them up, like you said.
Yeah, split them up. He talked about kind of how he was feeling out here. Said the track hasn't changed all too much for him as well here this week. And he was saying that, again, it's just been a progression of staying on the curb, and you feel like they haven't changed all too much on his Timmy Tech Comp Kart. And I know his driver coach as well has been one of the ones to run at the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals as well in I guess years past. So it's been, I guess, one of the biggest things to see a lot of these drivers progress as the years gone on. But the Sportsman drivers out on the racetrack now, and they're just getting set to roll off. So a good field, a good number of drivers into the teens in that one as well there, Al. So it's going to be one of the ones I think that we're going to look out for, and we'll catch up with them as well as they hit the racetrack here now. folks, and on the racetrack now. Big Wolf with a good start so far to his morning warm-up session. A 49.763 for Wolf, Ives, and Wyatt in single file line, working together a couple more of those nitro carts up there. Ryder Thompson looks to be one of them in that group there as well, just pushing each other along. And again, the top three, it's been all about them, and just the key to these races we've talked about all weekend long here, Alex, that getting yourself out in front, putting yourself in the position to really be able to strike, and being there in the end are the keys to victory here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, with a racetrack that provides a lot of drafting opportunities, a lot of places where they can push each other along and continue to draft and try and make passes. I mean, you have some major passing zones here as well, right? The straightaways are a couple of the big passing zones, and a lot of the hairpins, right? The double left, double right from us, a lot of crossovers we talked about on, and we almost sound like broken records to that as well. Continue to talk about it, but some of the things up over here, the warm-up sessions, getting close to wrapped up. Masters coming up next, as well as more later on. The senior mediums as well going to round up the order here later on.
Surprised to see how close it is up at the front here in Warm Up, and I think it's a bit of a prequel to what we can expect later on this afternoon when they get ready to go main event racing. Ryder Thompson, top of the board, Keegan Irwin, Ives, Wyatt, Wolf, all within a tenth and a half of each other. Those are the top 5 drivers that we are seeing out on the racetrack, pushing each other, again, figuring out how to work with each other, just being buddies. You don't have to be buddies anymore. Right now, friends. So, Keegan Wolf now off the board. We spoke to just a moment ago, Caleb, and I think we're pretty happy after this warm-up session to realize that his comp car is as fast as anybody out on the racetrack, and that bodes well for his chances later today when he's going to have to try to split up in the front row.
Yeah, as well, key things to mention here, Alex. One thing that's a little different today than what we saw yesterday, the wind has definitely died down here. Yesterday we had about 30-mile-an-hour winds, and thanks to Jerry Vandry, our eyes up above, he was kind of talking about what the difference was going to be today, right? There's no wind, or less wind, I should say. There's still definitely some wind coming through, which is why you can hear our microphones kind of cut off there for a second. But again, that's one of the factors as well, I feel like today, that with less wind, it's going to allow more drivers to kind of try and go out there and have better solo pace here as well. And that could also have a little bit of difference in gear. We talked about the gear changes with higher wind speeds, so that could be a thing or two, right? Maybe run less teeth, or maybe even run more teeth. We'll see how it all plays out. And I know you obviously are I don't know how you feel about that, Alex. Are you the type of guy to kind of add teeth whenever there's a lot of wind, either tailwind or headwind?
Depends on the direction, right? Directional winds matter, and a racetrack like this, the Charlotte Motor Speedway, where, like Xander and I touched on this morning, it's 2, maybe 3 brushes in the brake. There's no real heavy braking zones around this place, and so yesterday it was kind of a headwind on that back straightaway, and so it made the draft all so much more important. And like Jerry was mentioning, one of our camera guys, and like you noticed, the wind has died now. It is maybe a couple of miles an hour. I know yesterday it got into the 30s in terms of how quick and how fast the winds were, blowing some of our cameras over. I know some tents were struggling as well to stay up and about. So again, could see some setup differences, could see a gear change potentially for some drivers, and expect some quick lap times as well.
Yeah, quick lap times. We have one driver that has been getting himself into the mix. A couple of incidents for you yesterday, I should say, Ben. But how's your weekend been so far?
It's been pretty smooth, but unfortunately only one mistake, or not even mistake, just an accident that happened in front of me took me out for medium and put me mid-pack for the final. Heavy's been smooth. I stayed, I'm up in 11th for that, so that's pretty good. I can definitely work with that, so we'll see where I go with that.
And 11th, I mean, for the starts. To me, that seems like one of the most important parts about these races, right? Getting yourself in the mix at the start seems to be the goal. How are you feeling as well starting on 11th? That seems like a little bit ways back, especially at a racetrack like this.
I think you got to have the right thing happen in front of you. You got to move forward, but you can't be too impatient. Otherwise, you'll end up back, you know, way further back than you were. So momentum's everything here. You know, I need some things to fall my way to make it happen, but even a decent top 5, top 10 would feel good this weekend after what I've been experiencing recently. So I'm just excited to be here, excited to race, and ready to go.
And a big family group for you here as well. Who would you like to thank, I guess, for making it possible for you to be out here?
My parents, Mark Steele gave me a great cart for heavy. The MGM's been really good in medium as well. I've been doing 2 carts, just letting them happen. You know, my parents, they're doing a lot for me, and I'm trying to repay the favor now that I'm a little older. So it means a lot to be able to be out here still and not have to work or, you know, do all the adult things. So it's a big opportunity. I'm going to make the most of it.
There you go from Ben Lyda. We'll get out of the way here as well. The Masters driver is getting set to hit the racetrack. And again, big family operation there for Ben Lyda and the Masters as well. Like I mentioned before, Alex, getting set to hit the racetrack. We talked about this Masters class, I think, a whole lot yesterday. Eric Fagan, Mark Steele. It's about to get loud here on grid, so I'll go quiet for just a second. Ryan Sporowski getting a little close to me here. We'll talk to him as well as this weekend continues to go on his happy cart. But again, this Masters with me, Alex, has been very, very competitive. You have the Burrell Arts, Mark Steele, and Eric Fagan have been really, really quick all weekend long. And I think today, more than yesterday, we're going to see a lot more drivers become factors. Talk about Chris Carroll, talk about the Coyotes. As well. And again, apologies, very loud down here on the grid. But again, more of those drivers, I think today, more than we saw yesterday, are really going to start to get themselves and find their footing. The Coyotes are really strong on the long run. It seemed like they had a really good pace as well throughout the last third of the races. And when we get to main event, actually, 18 laps today, Alex, and those races are pretty long. And setting your cart up to be fast at the end of the race, I think, is also going to be key.
Yeah, well, it all comes down to tire pressures, right? I mean, if your cart was good yesterday, most likely it's going to be good today, right? It's not always the case, unfortunately, because sometimes, you know, from day to day, your go-kart could drop a couple of tenths, right? Whether in a good or a bad way. Hopefully in a good way, but I've happened to me before where I haven't touched a thing and the go-kart, you know, went away from me before the main event. So like you mentioned, Caleb, it's not like they didn't run a lot of laps yesterday. 12 laps the distance per heat race, so it's only 6 laps more for the main event. So really, it's just going to be probably tire pressure change. That being said, like we touched on a little bit, winds have slowed down. We might see a gear change. You might be able to roll a slightly lower gear. If anything, you'll go 1 tooth. I'll be surprised if you can make 2 teeth lower work for what they were doing yesterday. But like we touched on it yesterday again, anytime you can run a low gear, lower than your competitors, it's a good day because it means the go-kart's rolling pretty well.
Yeah, really here we have Gavin Isaacs with us. Gavin, another good weekend for you, I should say, a stepping stone, but yesterday it looks like you fell off just a little bit towards the end of the race there in medium. But a top 5, how are you feeling, I guess, how's your weekend been up to this point?
In medium, it's been great. 2 top 5 finishes, 4th the first round, so I mean, we're happy with it. Pace was off, the second heat fell off a little bit towards the end, but we still got a top 5, so I mean, we're happy with that.
And talk about the hard work as well. It's been to kind of get up to the front of the field and the you know, the learning curve it's been to stay up there.
Yeah, I mean, after Summer Nats, when I had a decent performance there, I feel like that helped me learn a lot how to run up front with everybody, and I mean, that's just carrying forward with us this weekend.
There you go. Who would you like to thank for making it possible to be out here this weekend?
Number 1, my dad for bringing us out here. Mark Steele for the help this weekend, and just anybody else who supports me.
Well, we'll let you get ready for your session. Thank you very much for talking to us out. You guys have it from Gavin Isaacs. Hoping to play out on something good now. And again, you heard from him. Stephanie Stone's getting himself up here. A good result for him at good race. And just race, I should say, Alex, to get himself into the fight. And again, we touched on it as well earlier today that for the first time this weekend, a lot of these medium drivers are going to start to put themselves and different battles, right? It's going to be a mix from what we saw in odd and even. For the first time this weekend, both of those groups are going to fight each other and talk about that, right? A lot of these drivers still do not, race against some of the guys that they are going to race against here in the main event.
The speed class in this series as a whole has grown so much that a lot of the drivers have experience around each other at some point in their years, whether it was the Spring Nats last year, the Grand Nats last year, or the CKNA event throughout the years. And so most of these guys, again, they're in senior medium. They've probably been through the ranks of the CKNA side of things, a lot of them at least, maybe down to Sportsman, but at least through junior into senior, right? So, like you said, it still is one of those things where you never know how a driver's weekend is going, because usually you're only worried about yourself, right? And so unless they're your teammate, you don't really know how a weekend's going. You don't know how they've been racing everybody else around them. Maybe they've had a frustrating weekend, and so they're driving a little bit more aggressively than they would in previous races. So like you said, it does take maybe a lap or two to kind of figure out what the race is going to be like and what the drivers' intentions are on the race. But again, at the end of the day, everyone's goal is to go out there and finish on the top step of the podium, hopefully. And so keeping it clean is the name of the game, but most likely it won't be that way, especially if you're starting a little bit further back, because again, like we've mentioned, this is a racetrack that invites a lot of passing, but because it's such a fast racetrack, anytime you make a move happen, whether it's successful or not, you tend to lose lap time and it separates the field. And so that's why, like you touched on with Lida there, Caleb, the start is so important because it's the closest the field will ever be together, and it's your best chance to make up positions in abundance. And so that's why you tend to see a lot of aggression early on in the race for a lot of drivers. But for drivers that start closer towards the front of the field, you usually see them take things a little bit calmer, a little bit smoother, right? So again, differing strategies throughout the field is kind of going to be the name of the game throughout the day, and I'm excited to see how it all pans out, because I always love to see, kind of the chess match, and I guess you could say who's playing chess and who's playing checkers.
Hey, this guy's out here doing rhymes and whatnot. Hey, fist bump here, Alex. Yeah, good job. We're almost at the end of our morning show here with myself and Alex. But I do want to mention, looking back at Masters, Chris Carroll, Sean Myers, and I didn't catch the name on the third Coyote that was up there. Very quick, I should say.
John Price.
Yeah, John Price. There you go. My apologies. Very quick at the end of the morning session. And again, I said that, they had very good long-run pace. So I'm expecting to see Chris Carroll get himself up there. Again, we saw what happened in Heavy. He had issues at the start. I'm sure Chris is going to get it figured out here today, and his Coyote is going to be up there again. A former Grand National champion. He's always running at the front in Masters and Heavy as well against a lot of the younger drivers. But senior medium getting set to hit the racetrack. We're almost at the end of our free coverage here. For those of you who want to watch the live action later on today, only $9.99 a month. You can watch all the racing action live, not just for this weekend, for the rest of the month. And again, we have a very, very busy schedule on our hands. We're going to Daytona in a couple of weeks' time, from Speedway to Speedway.
1 week.
Goodness gracious, we're on a roll here. 1 week. United States Pro Kart Series, I believe, is next week. But again, senior medium getting set to hit the racetrack, and a lot of drivers have been up there. You talk about some that weren't up there. Dylan Amundsen at the end of heat race number 2, a DNF. Cameron Reed as well, a DNF for her. And then Colin Warren. How about Colin Warren? I mean, the moves he was making. James Overbeck. I cannot wait for the racing action we're going to see later on today. I mean, this is going to be, I think, some of the best that we're going to see all year long. This racetrack, you talk about the double right-hander hairpin. You talk about the, double left-hander hairpin and the double right-hander at the end. Crossovers after crossovers. You can never call a race too early here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's bred some really, really good racing.
Well, these main events are usually really fun to watch, because sometimes you don't really know when a rivalry begins to brew throughout a weekend. And so usually the gloves tend to come off during a main event, and you get an idea for which drivers may be frustrated with somebody else throughout the weekend, and it tends to show in the main event. And so for drivers like Dylan Amundsen, for Colin Warren, those two guys have worked well together throughout the years, and they know they can trust each other. But I can't really say the same maybe for other driver pairings throughout the field. And this senior medium class is as stacked as it gets. These guys can run with the best of the best, and there's a reason why they're considered the best four-cycle drivers in the country. They'll put on a show for us for sure. And like you mentioned, drivers to note that could be coming through the field. Colin Warren, first of all, there is no doubt as to why he is the winningest driver in CKNA Grand Nationals history. He always finds a way to get it done. I don't want to call him the Iceman because I know that nickname gets thrown around a little bit too much, but he's just always there. How does he do it? I don't know. But then you look back, James Overbeck, Amundsen especially, a driver that we know can win this race, he's going to have to go through the field.
I've called Colin Warren Mr. 206 for quite some time now because of how many, being the winningest driver in Cup Karts North America history, that says a lot about Colin Warren. But another thing that I want to mention here, the variety in chassis that we have here, Alex. Your Coyotes with John Seglow and Jim Lipari as well, with that Zenit chassis. The MGMs with quality and price. You have, a lot more. Your OTKs that are out here. Your Burrell Arts with Mark Steele and his team this weekend. The list goes on and on with manufacturers all the way down. Your Combat Eagles, American-made manufacturers. We talked about it last weekend. Building them out of their shop in their own backyard. Jim Lipari as well with his shop up in the Northeast, I believe. And again, just the time and everything comes down to this, right? Everything comes down to weekends like this where you want to sell, where you want to put your cart up front, where you want to put your product up in front as well. We're going to see a lot of that this weekend, right? Teams from South Georgia, from North Carolina, from different types of places. They all come here, they all meet up here for the biggest racing series in the world for four-cycle racing, the Cup Karts North America. Spring Nationals getting set to go live, and I cannot wait, Alex.
Touching on the manufacturers, one of my favorite aspects of this series, of grassroots as a whole, is it tends to invite a lot of privateers, a lot of drivers, parent-son, parent-daughter duos, where they show up on the back of their truck and make it happen. I mean, I look down the entry list, half the time there's at least 10 to 15 drivers per class where they're a privateer. Yeah, they're running a manufacturer because they have to, right? It doesn't matter which one it is, but a lot of the times you tend to, roam around the paddock and see a lot of really, really small operations. Work on display. You're a driver that's winning. You got a big package. This series tends to invite a lot of privateers that can go out there and be successful.
We're excited to see it, right? I love the stories as well that come from this series and the drivers that make it possible with one engine, one go-kart, and that come out here and really get it done. And to see those father and son duos, those father-daughter duos as well coming out here and racing, to me, is I think the most special thing to see as well here at Cup Karts North America. Honestly, it's been great. You've seen the growth of the series. I have as well. When I raced the Grand Nationals 2 years ago, going back to what it was last year, continues to grow. A testament to Greg Jasperson, the entire Cup Karts North America crew, for having a smooth flowing series to go on. Talk about the growth of this. You were, I think, one of the drivers, Alex, that started this, former Grand National champion, I must say, and now you've seen the growth on a paddock that's, fence to fence here, absolutely jam-packed.
I've been in this series since Grand Nationals 3, so I was actually a part of the series during that year into Grand Nationals 3, so I mean at least a good 5 to 6 years now, and I gotta say, I thought when I was racing the Grand Nats, back in 2018, 2019, 2020, I was like, oh, there's no way. This has got to be the cap, right? I mean, there's so many go-karts here, and every year they step up their game, right? I mean, we touched on it earlier. We had the number 45% of the entries this weekend weren't here at this event last year. That is incredible. What a testament to what Greg Jasperson and the entire Cup Karts North America crew to continue to grow the sport that is go-karting, the sport that is four-cycle racing, and again, there's a reason why it is the largest four-cycle group in the world, and they bring together the best of the best.
Looking on the racetrack here, Reagan Seville currently top of the timing charts on his Trackside Karting Services GFC. You see him there on your screen. Cameron Reed right behind him, and one of the BJR PPK Coyotes right behind Reed off the racetrack there for a second. Elbows out already in this morning long session, and just a little preview to what we're going to see later on today as well. Time running down, checkered flag in the air, and again, grab your popcorn, go grab a cup of water, a glass of water, or a glass of wine. Get ready to watch all the racing action live here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, America's home for racing. Become a Pacey for your now. You're not going to want to miss any of the racing action that's getting set to come your way. We start at the top of the order with the juniors. We go all the way down to senior medium at the end of the day. The sun hopefully comes out. Very cool temperature here today. But Alex, final thoughts before we head into main event racing.
Final thoughts is it's not getting as windy as yesterday, but clearly the wind is out a little bit more because my hair is now getting into my eyes and I can't really see as much. So we will see what happens there. But nonetheless, this racing will be fantastic. It always puts on a show for us. I can't wait. This racetrack provides, and like you said, I mean, a glass of water, whatever you may need to go out there and you know, maybe a couch, right? Just because you're going to want to sit down. Maybe you're not going to want to sit down and probably going to stand up for most of these races. I know I will be in the booth. So this will be exciting to watch. And again, I cannot wait.
Grab whatever you need. Last little moments before we head into main event racing action. You're watching Kart Chasers live coverage of the 2025 CKNA Spring Nationals. We'll see you whenever the main events roll off.
Brandon, why are there all these
All right,
charges
stop.
for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this Brandon business, okay? Brandon this, Brandon that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? And it's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here. Told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Ready to elevate your racing game? Introducing Apex, your 24/7 personal karting coach. Apex is your ultimate racing companion. Get expert advice anytime, anywhere. From setup tips to mental strategies, Apex has you covered. Fine-tune your car for peak performance. Get personalized advice on adjustments like tire pressure and chassis settings. Apex helps you master the track, from overtaking strategies to wet weather driving techniques, and to resilience to perform under pressure. Apex keeps you focused, confident, and race ready.
Using Apex is simple. Sign up, ask a question, and receive instant advice from top-tier coaches. With Apex, your personal karting coach, you're never alone. Get instant expert advice on everything from setup to technique. Unlock your full potential with Apex. Your journey to victory starts here. Happy racing.